Good evening, everybody. This is a very, very rainy Nürburgring, and it is Formula Sprint 1 drivers who are going to be put up to the challenge. My name is Eoin Harmon. At the moment, I'm on my own, but hopefully my broadcast partner, Youssef bin Suhail, will be ready to join me. But after the unfortunate case where the broadcast was not able to proceed due to hardware issues, we are hopefully going to be able to put that behind us and make sure we have a very, very successful event today. So the final minute of practice is taking place as I speak, but as we did, of course, not get to witness the broadcast 2 weeks ago, we can recap that just in a few moments. But today is the final race before our first break in the season. So yeah, this is our only GPVWC FS1 action for the month of May. But I'm sure it's going to be an absolute sensational event. And we certainly have a shake-up in the championship already. And if yet more drama occurs in this wet weather, yeah, that would be very, very fascinating to see. So our races today will take place 30 laps, race 1, and then the reverse grid draw will take place for the second race, which is a 20-lap sprint, I suppose you can call it that. Given how difficult it will be to get through these conditions. Yeah, the Nürburgring is a fabulous facility, and it really will bring out the ultimate balance in the car setup. You can't necessarily rely on the straights, nor can you assume those hairpin turns are the only thing you'll come across, as there are so many crests and dips in the track. So all kinds of skills will be put to the test. So now that the checker flag is out for practice, we can briefly summarize what happened 2 weeks ago in Jeddah. So there was the first race, which was Alex Lahou, Mr. Unlucky, was able to win without the broadcast to back it up. But yeah, it was a fantastic drive for him, narrowly beating out Mike Quint of Multiforce, and Jack Mayer rounded up the podium there. And it was another great result for TCS off with Lehu's teammate Munier in fourth. Race 2 was a bit more in the case of TOP. They were able to make a comeback with Mayer on top, and Shimon Frelich, who had trouble in race 1, he was able to fight his way back up into P4. Quint was on the podium again, as was Omari Watson for Netrex. And what does that mean for the championship? Well, Quint's run of podiums has absolutely slashed the gap between himself and Freilich. It's just 1 point separating those two drivers, and Mayer, of course, getting a great pattern of podiums in his last two events, is up to third with a 14-point deficit to Quint, and therefore 15 off the lead. Thomas Harvey with DNF in race 2 has lost some ground, and then Watson is best of the rest on 97 points, which is minus 46 on Freilich. So we'll see how these drivers fare with qualifying. I suppose the smart strategy will be to fuel up, get a feel for the track, get the banker lap in, and keep going for 2 or 3 more laps and see if the conditions improve, and then pit and try the same sequence again. We can now take a look at the scoreboard for practice. Jack Mayer set the fastest lap time, comfortably ahead of Wopke Hoekstra for HGP. So yeah, Mayer looking very confident in these adverse conditions. Quint was about 0.6 of a second off in third. Freilich P4 for him. And a solid array of drivers were able to set times within a second of our leader. So that's good to see. And then 138s, 139s, probably not representative of what we're going to see in qualifying. Now everyone should be fully prepared for qualifying now. They're all in the garages, ready to get their setups going. And I can see in the chat, Alex Lehu is absolutely over the moon with the conditions. Yeah, he predicted it would rain, but yeah, he is one driver who probably feels this will benefit him in the great leveler that is the rain. But he also says just there, Mike Quint is today's main character. So yeah, we'll take that as we will. So there we go. Qualifying has been set up and we're ready to go. Red light on in the pit lane for another 15 seconds or thereabouts. And then we'll get to see the first driver out on track. There we go, the queue forms. And then Mike Quint indeed takes his spot at the start of the queue, and there we go, green light. So 50 minutes of qualifying, and it's actually gotten even worse on circuit. You can see there's a big puddle out of pit exit. Full wet tires are required in the opinion of Quint. So we'll see if the vast majority of drivers feel the same way. I'll be shocked if they didn't, really. There's very little wriggle room for intermediates. The spray looks very significant off the back of that Multiforce. And yeah, these corners are certainly some of my favorites. Looking at Nürburgring events in the past, you can get a sense of these left and right curves, and then the Schumacher S turns 8 and 9 just after the hairpin. That was also a fantastic highlight in full tilt, but unfortunately I'm not going to see that unless things dramatically dry up. So yeah, plenty of other drivers are now on track with the private session rules enabled, meaning everyone shares the track, but they do not interact with each other. They're all invisible to each other, and we'll see how that affects everyone's performances. We have a grid of 26 drivers, great to see. So just 2 missing out of our tally. So great turnout as always here in FS1. See now as Quint gets those tires and other components heated up and ready to go. He will take the final chicane very carefully. Yeah, oh, he's overcooked it just as I was about to finish my point. He misses corner exit with that massive aquaplaning moment there, sending him into a slide, but he's able to pick up and start again. Perhaps he'll just dust himself off, get that banker lap set, cool things down at the rear tires, and then he will be able to probably perform a better lap the next go around. So here we go into the first hairpin. There's going to be so much understeer here with the miniature curve turning into the full hairpin, and the standing water will be very treacherous there. Onboard cameras, you can really feel the conditions firsthand now. You can sense getting anywhere close to the apex. Not the greatest idea with the curbs. They'll send you flying if you get too trigger happy on the accelerator. There you go, he has an optimum line there, and we'll see. He's gonna hang it, yeah, his inside as long as he can, then getting onto the AstroTurf. Yeah, another wiggle, he's caught it. And now the downhill run, if there was any puddles here, you'd be straight into that gravel trap. He has it in reasonable control again. Now you can see a bit of a line emerging into Schumacher S, the left and the right. That looks good to me. There we go. And now another hard braking point, left and rights again, very common attribute here. He's gone a little high, he catches it before too much danger occurs. Now the run down to the final chicane and the last hairpin. So we're going to see some lap times ticking over about now. Menno Clant is the very first driver to set a time of 1:51.5 there. He's comfortably in front of anyone else, but obviously we're not going to get dead set times just yet. So there we go. Darius Andre and then Szymon Frelich have broken into the low 151s. And Mike Quint, in fairness to him, yeah, that's P2 after that outlap mishap. So yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. You can try again with the fuel load. Alessandro Maggio, was he on intermediates? He might have been, yeah. He will have been told, no, that's the wrong choice. Yeah, he would have been in collaboration with his team. He's hoping to take a gamble, but it's obviously backfired. But there's still time. Frelich goes purple in sector 1 to improve on his own personal best in the banker lap phase. And now he'll be running down to the fabulous hairpin. We'll see if he decides to cut inside for as long as possible. Yeah, he looks like moderate entry and then a smooth exit. And he's very, very committed, and maybe a little bit too much demands put on the car there, but he's done fine there. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that's a solid entry. Bit risky on exit, but that's another case of the courage giving him the extra tenths. He is a little bit down in sector 2. This is still a lap time. That will get him. Yeah, another 151 is on the cards here. Will be anywhere into the 150s. Oh, it's a little bit slippery there out of the final chicane, and that's the case. Yeah, he's gonna set himself up for another lap. That one's gone, so yeah, he'll have to carry all that pace again. So, yeah, he scraps that lap at 1:51.7 this time. Carlos Martin ascends to the front row now for Netrex GP. We've seen his ability to perform lap times on a dime, so that's P2 for him. Thomas Harvey, though, for Spark, has said enough of that. I'll have P2. Obviously, after Jeddah went wrong for him, this is a great opportunity to pick up valuable points to reboot his ambitions. We're now taking a look at Luke Mitchell for Rowan GP, and we'll see how he gets through the final chicane. This is a good lap so far, comparatively speaking. 35s in sector 1, 47.4 sector 2. Now through the final hairpin for the final challenge of the lap, and it's P17. So yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. About yeah, see this leaderboard there, 1.3 off pole position. Harvey, though, he's He's G'd up. He wants the pole position now that he has the confidence. Purple lap time in sector 1. And is he able to maintain the pace out of Schumacher S? That looks solid. Now another left-right combo. A little bit of a downhill entry. And it stays even harder on the right-hand side. Yeah, he's purple again, sector 2. And Mike Quint is also setting the leaderboards alight there. He's looking to get himself ahead of Freilich in the championship, and setting the pole time would certainly boost that ability for him. We'll see if Harvey has the nous to get the Spark Racing team onto pole position. Yes, he can. So there we go. Harvey now ahead of Quint. So Quint and Harvey were basically neck and neck on the actual live circuit. So there we go. Harvey does edge him out by 0.05 of a second. Now here's Maggio. He wants to set his first representative lap time. He's so far unregistered, but he will get something done now. And it is a 154.0, so that does not set him anywhere higher except the last place at the moment. Now Carlos Martins having another run of it, now that he's lost 2 positions since I was speaking about him. And there we go, out of Schumacher S. See what happens now. This is the corners that you really don't want to get wrong, because the final chicane and the final hairpin, if you have them sorted, you should be okay. The NGK chicane. Yes, it's purple sector 2. That's brilliant to see. Can he nail it in this final sector and get back his front row berth and make it a pole position? Here we go. One last corner. Gotta stay on the apex for as long as he can. And yes, this is a great corner exit. And yes, he doesn't improve on the positions front. So it's actually Shimon Freilich has gone purple for pole position on a provisional basis. Darius Andre looking very strong there for TCS off, so he'll be working together with Loic Munier. So no wonder Alex who was in chat, he's not on the circuit, so there we go, that explains that. Wopke Hoekstra, we know from practice what he's capable of. At the moment he has 16th position. You want to get into those points paying positions. Maxime Beaulieu improves by 1 to 19th position. Pixelate want to get a real move on in the championship. Haven't had too many successes. They're currently 13th. Sorry, 14th, I beg your pardon. So Freilich down on sector 1 so far. Does he want to commit to this lap, or just cool it down and try again as we head into the final 4 minutes or thereabouts? We'll know for sure. No, this lap has to be abandoned. It's not going to get him anywhere. Okay, you'll have to try again, I'm sure. Now Mike Quint, though, he is certainly giving himself the best opportunity here. Purple sector 1. A little bit down sector 2, and another wobble, but he knows what to expect this time around. One last corner to go, and here's the run down to the line. It will feel very quick, and yes, it is P1 again for Quint. Brilliant time on that final sector. Machi Hila currently 9th position for Build Sim, and behind him it's Loic Munier. Oh no, that's a uncomfortable exit there. He got onto the Astro, and that was a solid lap time gone to waste. He loses a few tenths at the crucial moment. Quint has gotten himself back onto pole, so it is back and forth competition between our championship protagonists. Harvey stays P3 and Andre there, as Sean Brightly here, as the chat has built him up strongly. Federico Marino has a chance now to get a personal best logged in. He'll be aiming for most likely Mary Watson. So Watson is down quite badly despite his string of good results, but actually it's 23rd place for Marino. Now to the final. Yeah, if you're not on track by now, you'll need to hurry up, or else you'll be out of time to get those final hot laps in before race 1 begins. So yeah, Watson is one of the names that I expect to see competing, but so far it's not working out for him. The temptation on the part of Freilich seems to be no, actually he changed his mind. He thought about intermediates, but it has not improved satisfactorily to get him onto the green stripe tire, and a chance at guaranteeing pole position if he was able to nail on the transition to lighter rain conditions. But now we'll check out Federico Russo. Alpha Delta will be very pleased to see these kind of results here. They want to continue their standing in the championship. So there you go, good exit out of the chicane, and the last hairpin remaining. Purple lap time's not really in range, but yeah, he's gone green, so personal best. Can he get anywhere higher on the grid? Yes, he gains 1, so he swaps places with Menno Klont and gets himself onto row 3 as things stand. So with the final minute to go, everyone has to be on track if they want to get lap times prepared. Jack Mayer not able to improve so far. Now we'll see Patrick Roszak. He has a chance to improve on his time. Probably next go around he might be too far down in sector 2. So we'll see now if this is just a case where he builds up another lap and starts again. In fairness, yeah, he did work hard in sector 3 and didn't improve. But now Harvey has purple sector 1, a little bit down in sector 2. He's got to really pull one out of the bag here, but the priority should be just to get over the line and get himself one last shot at pole position. So here we go, 20 seconds to go. He will definitely get another lap time in. Stays 3rd, but yeah, this is the key now. Everyone's got to make those lap times count. Yeah, it seems like Quint is satisfied. He's not on track. Everyone else in the top, everyone else is actually. So Mike Quint is the one driver who thinks he's done enough. Freilich will want him to rue that decision. Frank Hamming actually had a very good lap time there. He goes 7th. Purple sector 3 for him. And so we'll see what Freilich has built up here. Sector 1 timing line coming up now. And yes, this is brilliant. So the conditions are definitely improving. If that's 34.9 sector 1, that is a huge improvement. And I think everyone else is able to respond in kind with their own personal best if they've provided they haven't made any errors. So out of the bottom hairpin, here we go, left and right. You can sense the improvement in the speed there. He uses all those curbs on the inside to give himself the grip. The sparks are glowing there, and now turns 9 and 10, that should be. So no, 10 and 11 there, and then the gentle right curve before the final chicane. He's a little tiny bit down in sector 2, but sector 3, it seems like that is handy enough to perform. Yeah, that's a good exit. And Luke Mitchell, Luke Mitchell has proven 150.709. The conditions absolutely have improved at the very end, and Freilich getting it nailed on, and he's back onto pole. That's a 150.4, smashing Mitchell's previous best there by nearly over a quarter of well, yeah, quarter of a second there. And Darius Andre is now second, and Frank Hamming rises to third place. So Quint loses all that progress, and his teammate there, Menno Clant, can only manage 11th. So that is the very end of the session about now. A few drivers looking to stay on track to the end there. So yeah, that's a very engaging qualifying session. It was all up in the air until the very, very end. And yeah, the drivers will have to get themselves ready for the pre-race warm-up. So that's the case of probably more where that came from. Just obviously the race fuel will be necessary. But we can summarize our qualifying grid for race 1 as follows. Shimon Frelich with 150.4, nailing it at the last, defeating Darius Andre by 1/10 of a second there. Frank Hamming, Luke Mitchell there from just behind those front row runners, 3rd and 4th there. Harvey, Quint, Munier, Martin, Mayer and Russo are in the top 10, just under 6/10 off the eventual pole winner. Clant, Hoekstra, Lucchini, Koenig, Killa and Watson 11th through 16th there. They'll be hoping for points, but obviously Roshak, Dragoon, Maggio and Gut also in contention there. And the final 6 to report, it's Zubinski, Oliu, Fuentes, Marino, Gazowski and Voice. Yeah, good. So at the warm-up session coming up, now is a good time for a quick break, so don't go away, and we'll see you just before race 1 begins. And welcome back. The warm-up session for the round 6 of FS1 2023 has just about come to an end. And now, there we go, 0 seconds. So I'm very delighted to be joined now on a substitute basis with another EH. It's Ed Hunter. Ed, how are you keeping?
Hey, we already got something in common, Eoin. But yeah, great to be here in FS1. So I'm trying to remember, I've done FS2. I did a Super League race. I'm getting experience at all the Super League categories here, and FS1 was one I've yet to tick off from my little checkbox. But great to see, and a wet race to boot as well. If it's anything like FS2 earlier in the week, then we're in for a treat, aren't we?
Yeah, I'll have to probably take your word for it for Tuesday. I wasn't around at that time, but yeah, it is a double dose of wet weather here in Germany, and it should mean with the grid, the way it's stacked, there is the ability for drivers to take the initiative. We would have seen the substitute for the Jeddah Race 1 winner, Alex Lahou, make a name for himself. He did very, very well. That was, of course, where is he in the leaderboard? Where's he gone? Or was he just doing the qualifying? Where's he gone?
Yeah, I don't see him in the server either. But yeah, Alex Lahou was very unlucky with that incident in Baku, and then recovered brilliantly in Jeddah, like you say. So Alex Lahou is sort of one of those drivers. You never count out the Frenchman, because he always tends to impress right at the last minute with a brilliant lap, or he comes out of nowhere to mount a late charge in a race. Very good at keeping the tyres alive late in the race. We saw it briefly in Academy, when he was briefly in Academy at the very beginning of the season, before swiftly moving up the GPV ranks. So yeah, one of the drivers I'm very impressed by, Alex Lahou. But also the likes of Thomas Harvey, Jan Dragoon, Mike Quinn, all sorts of really, really strong drivers here. Gazowski, who I know from a couple of other series, Matthews Gazowski in the Hyperion, another great driver. And of course, you've got the Netrex guys like Omari Watson, and I think Carlos Martin's in here as well. So there he is. Yeah, he is. There we go. This is me just getting to grips with everything. Yes.
Yeah, it's Darius Andre for TCSF. That was the name that has left me, but now he's back.
Andre.
Yeah, so he got himself a very strong qualifying. Yeah, we'll just wait and see for the warm-up session, getting reset into the race. Yeah, conditions remain very, very bleak out there, but drivers will be keen to spot the gap in the weather and get onto intermediates.
And it's interesting you mentioned there, Andre, of course, subbing in. He's a Visceral Esports driver. He's about to make his debut in a FSR World Championship as well. So, man, very much moving places. And, of course, he's got experience. I think he finished runner-up to Jake Dennehan in what is now FS2 a couple of years ago, back in 2021. You can tell he's been doing a season preview of every driver in FSR for the last couple of days. But anyway, so yeah, Darius Andre, someone I'm quite familiar with, and looking to do well and impress here at the Nürburgring. But like you say, the weather's not going to get too much better, so it's really about getting the best out of these this low grip, low traction sort of conditions where you're going to see a lot of rear tires spinning, especially on the first couple laps here as everyone sort of beds in for the 30 lap race one encounter.
Yeah, exactly. We saw Mike Quint, who's put off a string of podiums in his last 3 events, the 2 back-to-back in Jeddah and then 1 from Baku. He had a bit of a spin in the final chicane on his very first out lap. So yeah, that is prime warning shot for anybody who gets overexcited on lap 1. You will be sent into a bit of a spin, and obviously turn 1 is very, very dangerous in wet conditions. The way it dips slightly and you're turning before the braking zone as well. So double jeopardy there if you're not careful. So yeah, the session should now turn over into our 30 lap race 1. And the drivers hopefully have all the data they need from that warm up to judge what is to come. And yeah, the grid is getting fully adjusted to match the qualifying, and we'll be getting our formation lap underway very soon.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the championship standings, by the way, and I didn't realize Mike Quint, despite not having won a race this season, has got 4 second places. He's 1 point behind Simon Frelick in the points, because Simon Frelick won the first 3 and then has scored a few podiums since, but especially Saudi Arabia and Azerbaijan, he's sort of his best finish of he's finished 4th twice and then 14th in race 1 at Jeddah. So Simon Frelick sort of under pressure here and being a little bit caught in the championship. And then you got Jack Mayer only about 14 points behind the pair of them. So that's quite the championship fight that we're enjoying at the moment here in FS1. Oh.
Yeah, no worries at all. So we see Frelick taking command of this formation lap ahead of substitute Darius Andre for TCS off. This is another great day for that team if they can get results. Hamming 3rd, Mitchell 4th. Harvey, Quint, row 3 with Munier and Martin supplying themselves P7 and P8. Completing the top 10 is Jack Mayer and Federico Russo. And we have Menno Klont and Wopke Hoekstra, Dutch duo there. We've Lucchini and Koenig, 13th and 14th. Machi Hilla has the final point as we stand, with the Murray Watson just outside in 16th. Patrick Roszak, Jan Dragoon, Alessandro Maggio and Vincent Gutt complete our top 20. In 21st position, it's Matthew Sabinski ahead of Maxime Beaulieu for Pixelate Esports. Teammates for EP Lab, Juanma Fuentes and Federico Marino, 23rd and 24th. And the final row, it's Guzovsky and Voice. So, no doubt about it, these full wet compound tires are necessary, at least for these opening laps. That surface water is just far too severe to consider anything else.
Oh, you say that, Eoin, because...
Oh gosh, I'm actually totally wrong. No dear.
Exactly, quite a number of them are gambled on the inserts, actually. But Frelick, Harvey, Mayer and Gutt, the odd ones out, have gone for the full wet. So if the weather, and it is still raining at the moment, but so the weather could get worse or it could dry out depending on how things change. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Current track temperature 37 degrees. So yeah, it's an interesting gamble. We'll have to see how it pays off. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Andre try and dive one up the inside. Like he's overtaking before they get to the grid spots. He's eager to get her going.
Yeah. And we have a car taking to pit lane, so maybe there's a penalty to be served there. So pit lane start, we'll find out who that is momentarily. So yeah, bit of a blunder from my part there. Should have waited a few more seconds before making my point. There we go. The disparity in the conditions. Paul Sitter-Frelick wants to play it safe, but those around him are on those intermediate tires. So now the lights are on. 5th one, and the release to go, and we'll see who has the initiative into turn 1. And this is Frelick so far. He's going to block Andre, but on the inside line he's going to take it. Watch out. Martin, he's got to be careful.
And he's locked wheels. And
contact.
Andre did well to save that one, and Frelick getting hit again, as I think that's Hamming now,
Yes,
going
Hamming
through
lead.
to the lead then for HGP. And look, here we go. Andre hasn't given up on that second place either, has he, Eoin? Through he goes at turn 3.
Munier taking on Mitchell. That'll be a very prosperous result there for TTS off to get 2 cars into the top 4. Yellow flag briefly flashing earlier on there, but it seems to be all right. That was Menno Klontz into P10. He's following. He's actually ahead of Russo now. Mayer just in front of them. Side by side there is Klontz. He's back down to 11th. Hilla has improved dramatically from qualifying there. Great start for him. Now there's 2x2 in some cases into the hairpin now to the Schumacher S's. This is where it can go horribly wrong. If you're not careful, those gravel traps will gobble you up. But Frelick down 2 places. But he'll be hoping for an increase in the rain to get that gamble on full wets to work. Well, it's not really a gamble, it should be the default strategy, but everyone else seems to think otherwise. So we'll see now. If Luke Mitchell, he's going to sit back and watch what happens, but Hamming has pulled out a half a second over Andre here, Ed.
He has indeed, and Andre, I'm sure, won't be giving up. But the evidence of this seems to be that the Inters, quite easy to warm up, but the Inters, remember, are going to wear out a little bit quicker than the wets, I believe, depending on the track conditions, of course. But we're still seeing, I think, light rain at the moment. Track temperature has dropped a degree to 36 degrees. Ambient temperature is still 12 degrees, though. So it's a little bit tricky to call, but I think the Inters are probably the best tire to start the race on by the evidence of that.
Yeah, we have a replay from our opening lap. Here. Well, our broadcast partner Tom just saying if this replay works. But there we go. It seems to. Yeah, it's meant to be lap 1 is too far in front. Here we go. This is the intention. This is the getaway with Andre in the wake of Frelick. Then he opens the door to the inside line, and that's how he briefly challenged for the race lead. But with the contact locking those wheels, it allowed Hamming on the outside to take that P1 away.
Yeah, you saw Andre just got wheel locked with Simon Frelick there. And Frank Hamming, of course, saw the 2 collide in front of him and then just thought, I can go around the outside of both of them and take the lead. And indeed, he did. There was some brilliant spatial awareness there. And again, in some quite tricky conditions. But as we said, Andre still within about 3 or 4 temps and looking pretty menacing. So the Dutchman, Frank Hamming, is going to have his wing mirrors full in a few seconds' time then. And of course, he's still got 28 laps ahead of him. Needs to keep these Inters alive for as long as possible in this stint. Whereas Frelick, meanwhile, is challenged by Luke Mitchell behind as he's desperately trying to battle to stay on that podium. I remember Thomas Harvey and Jack Mayer, 2 of the championship contenders, also on the full wet with Mike Quint just ahead of them, who's a point behind Frelick and only 2 or 3 places behind on the road. If you go back to Hila, who's desperately trying to get into the top 9. That's Russo right in front of him. There's a bit of a train being held up here by, I think that's Jack Mayer and Thomas Harvey ahead of them on the full wets.
Yeah, so TOP both agreed full wets were the way to go, but just as we saw on the leaderboard, +5 gain for both Hilla and his teammate off the start line. So Build Sim, Roshak and Hilla have found a setup that suits them both. And Roshak into P12 as well. So Dragoon is behind them. He's battling away with Hoekstra for that 13th place. So there we go. Build Sim, whatever they've discovered, Ed, that is flying form for them so far.
It is, and often in a race like this where it's wet, it's a little bit chaotic. If you can make ground in the first lap, it can make or break your race. But of course, if you end up going deep into the gravel, pushing too hard, then it can absolutely destroy a race. By the same token, we saw so many drivers in FS2 on Tuesday that were just spinning out from some quite high positions, like David Yunt losing race 1, for example. There's Mike Quint up the inside then of that's Luc Moynier. He's just tussling out the way into the hairpin. So Quint making good progress here, both of them on the Inters, of course. And now he's got he's trying to catch up to that Luke Mitchell-Simon Frelick battle ahead of him, which has got crucial championship implications for the Malta Force GB drivers. We see yellow in sector 2 and Andre around. And that's really dangerous in the middle of the road there, but he's got going without being hit by anyone. But down to the top 10 goes the TCS off racing driver.
Yeah, that is absolutely terrifying to see a car stranded in the middle of the road after.
And your visibility's not great either.
Your visibility is bad as well, because it is a corner that rises above and then settles back down again. But now Federico Russo is a beneficiary of Andre's drop on the side of the road there. So Russo P8, and he's following Jack Mayer, who has that momentum from Jeddah Race 2 and that wet compound. It gives him a little bit of advantage on corner exit, but certainly the entry is compromised. That grip is hard to maintain if they get too hot. So Russo want to hang on the outside. He's got to be really careful on slowing down, get those gears set up perfectly, or else you'll be set into a tailspin. He's going to log a inside line into turn 2. No, it doesn't pay off though.
Yeah, look, Jack Mayer driving very, very defensively there. He was going for the inside on the start-finish straight as early as possible, so that Federico Russo had to go round the outside, where there's not necessarily the same amount of grip. So even though Russo's on the better tyres at the moment in the form of the Inters, they're clearly up to temperature a lot speedier than the full wets and giving more grip in these conditions. He wasn't able to take advantage of that because of some great driving there by Jack Mayer.
Yeah, we have a replay now. This is what happened to Andre. Here we go into the Schumacher S. Takes the curb as normal, but then the kick out. He tries and capture it, and then I think he just put too much
Yeah,
power.
he almost saved it as well, didn't he, Owen? But
Yeah.
on the exit there, it just got a little bit too wide. I think the rear wheel tapped the grass. And is that the other TCF of Jack Mayer going all the way off track to avoid him? It's a good reaction there.
Yeah.
So the top racing, it is the top racing of Jack Mayer, not the other TCS. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so that's relief anyway that no one hit Andre square on. That would have been a double DNF for sure. But nevertheless, we have Russo, who is following the TOP into the second to last set of corners, that final chicane. And Zabinski has an inside line here. A little bit of contact on Lucchini, but it's settled down now. The opportunity to go for the inside was there if he wanted to play a heavy dice roll, but on corner exit, that is Lucchini away safely.
Yeah, that's a bit dangerous. I thought Zabinski was going to spin Mirko Lucchini around there as we cut back to Menno Klont, who is steadily making progress there, and the other Multiforce GP teammate, of course, to Mike Quint, currently in 4th position after that spin for Darius Andre, promoted pretty much everyone in the top 9 upper place. But Klont looking to get into the top 10, and that is Andre right in front of him as well. So he'll be hoping that it takes a while for the temperatures to get back under control after that spin. But of course, it's the wet, so the tyres should cool down pretty quickly, you'd think.
Yeah, and in fairness to Quint, his last lap time, certainly not a purple compared to what we've seen earlier in the session, but 150.6, gained a tiny bit on Hamming. So he is in contention if he can carry on that pace.
Quint's got to clear Mitchell quickly, though. I think Mitchell's superb drivers, as we see in FS2. He's not really in the title fight in FS1, so Quint has got to clear Mitchell to catch up to Frelick in front of him, who started to build a gap to Mitchell.
Yeah, so Mitchell needs to probably calm it down. He's in a very promising position. He has a 1.6 deficit to Frelick, and Quint will be probably more likely to catch up to him. And there we go, as a matter of fact, on board with our P2 man in the championship. He will just follow in the spray here, and then he'll attack into turn 1 if he feels there is that opening to him. So yeah, Mitchell's lap times are degrading just a little bit. Quint, you can sense, this is the inevitable inside line, and there's a lot less motivation for Mitchell to get involved. His Rowan GP team will be very grateful for these points.
Indeed. So Luke Mitchell, after qualifying well, just needs to make sure he stays out of trouble. He's got Loic Moynier not far behind him as well. I've seen those two battle quite a few times in the past, Mitchell and Moynier. So we could be in for another showing here at the Nürburgring. But now Quint has got to take off. And remember, Frelick is still on the full wets, of course, doing best of all the full wet drivers. Harvey and Mayer next best in 6th and 7th, though. But they're still really in defensive mode. It's only Frelick who's really been able to get the full wets to work so far, I think, Owen.
Yeah, and I was discussing in the build-up the intermediate tyres, if they If they get too hot, they will need to be changed, so that could be a factor if the weather is, if it does actually get better, those intermediates might drop off. But if it gets a little bit worse, those wets have the durability advantage and they could go to the finish. So we'll see if that kind of strategy comes into play. But I'd imagine the temptation would be to get these tyres to lap 20, 21 and see how they are, and then determine can they make it to the very end. Yeah, Gille, he's got the race pace. Oh.
I think that's another mistake from Andre. He's dropping down the field. Oh, no, is that at the exact same place as well?
Yeah.
And he's lost the front wing, so it's gone even worse for Darius Andre. So that is a real shame for the TCS off racing driver.
Once bitten, twice shy, I'm afraid, and he's got to get a nose cone change immediately. That's Zabinski, who wants him out of the way. Vincent Gutt, Martin, and Watson all trying to get through. So this is gritted teeth kind of stuff here. The pit lane is on the opposite side, so he's got to yield. Yeah, that's another concern there for the drivers trying to carry on with their race. The damaged vehicle has to change lanes, so to speak. Now we have a replay. Schumacher S again. Let's see what happened, Ed.
Here we go. So when does he lose it? He goes a bit wide in the middle. Again, two wheels onto the curb. Loses it very early and does several 360-degree spins there. So a heavy impact with the wall. And as you said, once bitten, twice shy. It looked like the front wing got completely bitten off there. And from then on, it was really just crawling back to the pits, the walk of shame, so to speak. And Darius Andre just could not get out of everyone's way quickly enough. And that's probably scuppered any chance of points here in this race. As there's Russo now off track just before turn 4 there.
Yeah, Russo was looking very strong in that top 10 battle. Alpha Delta. I'll have to try and motivate him to start again. But 13th, still a few points anyway. So we'll see this replay now. Oh, this is in Sector 1 actually. So it would have been on the rundown to the left-right sequence. Most like, there we go, braking. It must have been a little too late. Yeah, he's on the gravel and the grass, and then his rejoin is compromised. Yeah, that unsettles the car badly.
Yeah, I almost tried to rejoin a little bit too early there, and because he went just too wide on the exit of, I think, 5 actually there into 6, and it just completely dropped him out the points there. Dropped him out of the top 10 rather, not out the points, because the points go down to 15th, of course. But it's really a case of staying on the road in these early stages, isn't it, Owen? You can, like I said earlier, you can make or break a race on these first couple of laps, basically. If you can stay out of trouble and just watch other people fly off the road in front of you, you potentially get a nice bag of points at the end of this.
Exactly. Unfortunately, Andre has decided to DNF from race 1, and he will not be able to race. Rorschach on the inside line of Clont. Now, unfortunately, turn 2 will go left, so he has to hang it very dangerously close to the Astro, and unbelievably he's caught it and makes the position up there. So Clont had no defences available despite the so-called advantage on the inside.
Yeah, I think because he wasn't on the racing line there, Clont, the wheels just spun up there and he didn't get the traction that he needed. So Patrick Rozak gratefully getting up into the top 10 then, and now Hoekstra is keeping a watching brief on the pair of them and hoping to capitalise, I think, and get the HGP car through as well. But Clont, after making some decent early progress, now under attack, really.
Yeah, it is crucial now for Clont to see if he can keep up with Rorschach.
Good save there on the exit of the hairpin there. It's really this going is the Schumacher S, where you really don't want to hit the curbs, because the curbs can be absolutely lethal in these conditions, especially when on the first couple of laps when you don't quite know where the grip is and where it's safe really to put the car. It's only later in the race where things might start drying up a bit more. But at the moment, 34 degrees temperature, and it's still drizzling a bit out there, so it's going to be lethal for a while. Meanwhile, up front, by the way, Frelick has closed the gap to about 2.2 seconds to Hamming, so the wets just slowly but surely starting to come into their own, and Quint only 8 tenths down, so the Inter's still slightly the pacier tyre at this point in the race, with Quint 4 tenths faster than Frelick on the last run around.
Yeah, that is encouraging for Frelick to have that long-term play. Certainly leaning towards him. I wouldn't guarantee it just yet. Quint solidly now in third position. The threat of Mitchell has subsided, I should say. Quint, he's definitely showing that mettle there. 150.6 was his last lap time. That is the quickest of anybody in that last tour. So yeah, it is Quint versus Freilich, almost a certainty. So we'll see if that develops. It's TOP's Mayer there in 7th. Nothing he can do to advise his teammate. All he can do is take points off Harvey and give himself an extra oomph in the championship as well.
Yeah, Message Healer making a scheduled pit stop, I think, for he's gone onto the red tyres, which I believe are the full wets, which is an interesting choice, as we see a little bit of action just in front of Alessandro Maggio, I think. Yeah, he's moved up a place past Watson. So there we go, it's all getting very contested. Just the 15th for the final point, which Alessandro Maggio, of course, Magic Man Maggio, as I've been calling him in the Academy broadcasts, because he just consistently wins those races. Now at the head of a train, including the two Netrex cars of Watson and Martin, and then Lucchini just behind, who I think may have just made a mistake which let the others through. Martin, of course, on the wets as well, so he'll be hoping they start to come into their own at this phase. He's looking quite pacey behind Watson, isn't he?
Absolutely, Ed. Yeah, he's definitely, in the zone. When he reaches that zone, he is absolutely fabulous to watch. And maybe Watson will think, if I can't get past Maggio in the next lap or so, I'll have to give my teammate a try. Or maybe go into the pits. Yeah, he is yielding and he goes into the pits. So I think the weather is getting worse.
Yeah, he's probably trying to respond to what Message Healer did a lap earlier. So Netrex throwing the dice, going for the full wet tyres, almost certainly, I think. So clearly the weather radar is not too positive here at the Nürburgring, they're knowing, for these teams.
It must be a very dire forecast, and the intermediates, they're burning up a little bit if it's even more wet or the aquaplaning occurs. And yeah, it is the right decision to change, but hopefully that's the only change you have to make, because if it's a 2-stop race in a 30-lap event, it could be really, really head-scratching to perform at your best when you're thinking, oh, I have to change tires, and then it turns out I have to change tires again because of the change in the weather. So anything more for these drivers would be an absolute frustration.
The other thing is, you don't want to... Oh, here we go. Martin, who stayed out on the full wets, now having a go round the outside of Alessandro Maggio. And it looks like, is that Vincent Gutt on the inside then, as they approach the hairpin? So that was a brave dive. And once again, Martin tries to go around the outside of Alessandro Maggio. And this time on the full wets, he might get the run into Schumacher. There's just enough room for the two of them to go through. But he has to let Maggio through around the outside.
Yeah, you're going to make another point. But yeah, Martin, that's risky. He wants to give the frighteners there to Maggio.
Yeah, I wonder if Maggio is starting to save those inters. What I was going to say was, it's a case of, and Maggio definitely not saving because he completely loses it and gets sideways on the exit there of, I think that's turn 9. And that lets Martin and, doesn't let Vincent Gutt through actually, but it does let Martin through. But what I was trying to say was that the full wets, is it better if you can push on the full wets rather than maybe the Inter being a faster tyre but burning out too quickly? You don't want to have to just tiptoe on the Inters, as here we go, Hoekstra, has to back out very late on a move on Menno Klont there for 10th position.
Yeah, goodness. So yeah, the opportunity for certain drivers to go for an attack now is a valuable time to do it if it is a case where the track is devolving. Some drivers may relish that challenge, but Freilich has gained dramatically on Hamming, so Hamming has definitely lost time in the... there he is, there's the green helmet of Hamming, and he has lost an unbelievable amount of time, but not enough for the lead to have been taken from him. So on board now Quint, so it's a 3-way battle now, Ed.
Yeah, how long can Quint keep the Inters alive for as well? Because if Hamming is starting to struggle, then you've got to think the Multiforce GP cars tyres are going to start misbehaving as well. But Maggio seemed to respond to what we were saying. He's pit and been able to cover off Omari Watson to the tune of 4.4 seconds. So I'm not sure the pace on the full wets again is quite as good. It's literally just a place of, if I chunk the full wets on, I can just go longer in the race. It's just effectively a kind of the guys that are sort of on the verge of the top 15, outside the top 10, are sort of just gambling on the full wets. But look at Hamming really under pressure now from Frelick then as they go into the beginning of lap 12 then, and Quint pushing to try and keep up with the pair of them.
As we saw previously, Quint's lap times were excellent, but yeah, they've dropped into the 151s. Still, yeah, he is gaining on Frelick and Hamming in particular. Yeah, for Quint, it is very difficult when you're the car following in the wet. You've got that double whammy of two cars spraying your visor, and if something happens to the car in first place and you're in third, you have to be very, very quick on your wits to get through any potential accident. There's a Hoekstra, that's a textbook move there on Clons.
Nearly lost it on exit though, but just about saved it. We're seeing 3 pit stops for Russo, Dragoon and Rozak, by the way, who have dropped to just outside the top 14.
Yeah, so here we go, Frelick. What he is capable of doing in the changeable conditions, we'll soon find out. We'll see if any differences appear. Yeah, wobble there for Hamming. Yeah, Frelick is definitely more comfortable on his setup here. Now through the Schumacher S curbs, as we've seen, can be lethal.
Rozak, by the way, one of the only drivers to pit for another set of inters as well, so looks like he's throwing the dice a bit. Everyone else has gone for the full wet pretty much, I think.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing more wet tires been taken up now at this stage, so yeah, Hamming has good power out of the previous left-right combo. So, yeah, I think Frelick will need to claw in Hamming on these slow exits. You can see he's working at HGP very, very hard just to keep it going, and now Frelick has a slide there.
Yeah, you see how wide Frelick went onto the curb on the last corner. He's feeling much more confident on those full wets than Hamming. And Hamming, who I don't think has won a race yet this year, is doing well to lead out front as long as he has. But this is a really, really tricky situation when he's got the two championship, the first and second in a championship bearing down on him, both of them on different tyres as well. So it's so unclear which tyre is the best one to be on, because it still feels like the Inter has decent one-lap pace, especially down the straights, but in these sort of slow, low traction corners, the wets are just that little bit more stable, I think is how I would describe them, the full wets.
Yeah, they give you that extra stability. Hamming's best result so far is a second place in Australia race 2. That was the time where TOP had a double DNF, and I want to put that one firmly in the history books. They will not care for that one so much, but if Hamming can turn that ability we know he has into a race win, it would mean so much for him.
Yeah, Frelick taking very different lines, and in fact that's a completely off the circuit line through the Schumacher S, and up in the air he goes, and he hits!
Oh, it's competition!
Absolute disaster then for Simon Frelick and for Mike Quint as well. And that potentially could promote Luke Mitchell up a place here, because Frelick has surely got to come in now for both front and rear wings at the very least. And I think Quint very lucky to escape any more serious damage, but lost a lot of time there. That is saved. Frank Hamming's bacon. And Mitchell
loses his podium so soon after getting it. So it must be like Munier, who is commanding a chance to get this sudden gain. Hamming's lead will balloon into nearly 7 seconds. Yeah, it's over 7 seconds now, and it will be about 8 seconds because Frelick is taking the shorter line out of the hairpin and into the pit. So an absolutely shocking incident. Let's watch it again from the perspective of Mike Quint. So Ed, let's hear your thoughts.
Oh dear, oh dear. So yeah, he just loses it in the middle there. So I was saying about how the full wets were giving more grip up in the air, and you see Mike Quint going all the way to the left without going off track as far as he can, and he's tagged into a spin there. So he's so nearly avoided contact. And to be honest, that could well cost him a chance to fight Frank Hamming later on, because he's 9.3 behind now. But here we go on board with Frelick. Let's watch the moment where he gets that snap of oversteer. He's been on the wets for like 14 laps at this point. Yeah, here we go. He loses it quite early and tries to save it. And yeah, it's just this jump here that he goes over. So he couldn't really have avoided Mike Quint, even if he tried there. Once he was airborne, there was nothing he could do.
Yeah, was just taking a glance at his telemetry, his onboard speedometer. Yeah, he didn't lift at all, so that unfortunately caused that massive leap, and then it spun the car into Quint, and that has caused a massive championship permutation here. So with things hopefully stable, Freilich, we'll see. Yeah, he should be.
Yeah, Freilich is still in the race down in, let's see, about 19th position, and he just come out of the pits on another set of full wets. So he clearly thinks the compounder is right. He was just pushing that a little bit too hard to keep Frank Hamming in sight then. But now there's a huge battle for second place, basically. So Quint, who hopefully has avoided damage, is now 8 tenths out of Moynier. Then it's Mayer, Harvey, Mitchell, and then a bit of a gap to Hoekstra, about 7 seconds down the road.
Yeah, so we've got race leader on his own, the battle for second through to 5th, then 6th place on his own, 7th place on his own, and Quant kind of on his own as well. So yeah, we have several categories now to look out for, but the primary one is no doubt Mayer versus Munier for the 3rd step on the podium, and Mayer has even more impetus for the championship leaders. If one driver's down, the other one needs to be there to capitalise, and getting on board with last season's champion in FS2. He's going to get close, but not close enough. Oh, yeah, he takes a look. It's not really an overtaking point. Oh, wide. Watch it, like. That's dangerous. So the all switcheroo, is he covering it? No, it doesn't look to be too confident here. This is a great opportunity, but he's blocking it, though.
Yeah, those inters look absolutely finished here. And speaking of it, round the outside goes Jack Mayer at the hairpin then. So Moynier, is he going to shut the door from the inside? No, he leaves just enough space. So I think Jack Mayer's through then into the top 3.
Yeah, that is confirmed. Mayer has taken the position. Just needs to get through these final few corners to hold it into the next lap. We're reaching 50%, and we've had so much to talk about so far, and there's still another half to go. So yeah, Mayer is now pulling away. Could be a change of tyres required for Munier just to avoid another TCS disappointment.
And that's a crucial move for Mayer as well, because that puts him into the fight for the win here. Because Mike Quint has taken, I think, 2 or 3, more than 3 seconds actually, out of Frank Hamming in just about a lap and a half's time since that spin, because he was 9 seconds down. Now he's less than 3 seconds behind, and now Frank Hamming coming into the pits. So the inters are really starting to become a useless tire at this point in terms of the grip it's giving. Here comes Harvey then up the inside of Moynier. He's coming through as well, and that's Spark Racing all onto the podium as well now.
Yeah, so that's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th in the championship, all in a line now. It was disastrous for Freilich, to say the least. I'd say he'll be ruining his luck on that transition from the gravel trap back onto the runoff. It sent his car wildly into the air. And contact ahead of Hamming. He's trying to get through the lapped cars.
That was Koenig and Martin, I think. They weren't like that because he just pit, and he's gone for another set of inters as Frank Hamming. And Koenig and Martin just clattering into each other at exit turn 3 there. And so that's a sort of good luck for Hamming, because he didn't have to fight those two for position now. He's free to chase Menno Collin in front of him. But interesting that you see some drivers favouring the inter and the wet. I think it's literally just that it differs from setup from driver to driver. They've either set their car up around the wets or the inters, and Hamming clearly a bit more comfortable in the inters than some of those around him, but Quint able to get them to last a bit longer, and that's why he's trying to build that gap 2 seconds to Jack Mayer at the moment. But we're sort of still in kind of 50-50 territory either way, where the wets have got the longevity, but the inters have got the pace overall, at least for a little bit.
Yeah, so bit of a traffic jam.
Oh, good move by Hiller, who remember pit very early on around the outside of Grand Dragoon there.
Yeah, good spot. So Hiller is now regaining that confidence we saw from him at the beginning of the race. We're now checking out Vincent Gush in the 2nd Spark car. He wants to look on the inside of Zabinski. who on strategy is doing a fabulous job, as he was in the 21st sort of range after qualifying. So I suppose maybe he's going long and now decides it's time for pit. And Hilla, yeah, you can see he is brimming with belief now that he can gain further positions.
Yeah.
And
Moynier
pits as well. So yeah, cars feel the need to pit.
I think Clont pit as well, because he's on another set of inters, I think. Just trying to see.
I'll check that.
I think it was Quinn the pit, not Clont. Sorry. Oh, and Vincent got
Oh, no.
up the inside of Hyla, and they both spin. That's exactly what we saw from Martin and Koenig just a lap ago as well. A very similar incident, and Vincent Gitt coming off by far the worse as Healer, his progress halted there. So that lets Mike Quint through back into the top 6 then after his pit stop.
Yeah, Clont is definitely going longer for Multiforce, and then Quint has taken the pits for new tires.
Sorry, they're both MK on the timing screen, which was what confused me. Sure. Menno, Clont, and Mike Quint. I've commentated with Menno as well, so I should know his name compared to Mike Quint a bit better.
Yeah, so Hilla, he'll be disappointed with that contact, but it hasn't. Hopefully.
Look at him pushing. There's getting some wheel spin on the exit, the hairpin there. So Hilla, he's lost none of his enthusiasm, that's for sure. So Mike Quint has just got to make sure he builds the gap. Doesn't look like the Multiforce of Mike Quint took any damage, or any significant damage anyway, from the hit with Frelick earlier. Frelick still 15th, by the way.
Yeah, so taking a look at the replay, Hilla has the inside line for turn 1. Yeah, they're both struggling at different points of corner exit. And there we go, the contact is made as Hilla wanted as much of that inside line as he could possibly get. Didn't want to hang it low. Now from Gutt's perspective, you'll see him wobbling, under braking, catches it, stays responsibly high there. Now 2 wheels ahead for Hilla. There's the contact. Gutt was level, just trying to follow his line. Unfortunately, there was contact. Yeah,
it felt a bit racing incident there, because from both point of views, I thought they turned into each other. But there we go. Menno Clont finally comes in then.
And he's intermediates. He's taking intermediates.
Looks like he has as well. So we got Hamming is the highest runner on the inters, but everyone else in the top 9 is on the full wets. Then, as we see Hilla again letting the rear step out just to the exit turn 3 there, as he continues to pursue Mike Quint.
Yeah, he's not going to leave a stone unturned here in his bid to finish.
That's not a metaphor for going through the gravel trap there.
Yeah. Well, certainly not a gravel stone, but ideally asphalt stone. So he carries on. It's raining pretty quick. So yeah, compared to Quint, he's just a little bit slower.
And the temperature's dropped again to 32 degrees, so that does imply the rain is starting to increase a little bit and going more into wet territory. So Frank Hamming, who's 15 seconds down on the leaders, who are right close together, Mayer and Harvey, about 6 tenths apart. Yeah, there they are.
Yeah, pit lane isn't too long here. It's probably about average. So, yeah, in fairness to Hamming, with these gains, he's cutting further and further into that deficit. And yeah, this is crucial, certainly for both drivers in the championship. They want to carry on their form and capitalise on Frelick.
I think these two are the only two that haven't pit, by the way, Eoin. So they might try and go to the end on these full wet tyres if they can avoid wearing them down to the bone, essentially. But look at how tricky it is for them just to keep it on the road and not clatter into each other.
Absolutely, yeah. So Hamming is hovering in that 13 high or 12, or 13 low or 12 high territory on our interval. Yeah, so far these two probably trying to suss each other out, see what's going on, and then if the rain gets even worse, then that'll be a great opportunity for them to reach to the concluding lap of the race without a single pit stop. So Harvey seeing what his countryman can do here. Oh, that was close, but yeah, that's good from Harvey.
Yeah, Frank Hamming could still get involved in this fight. Of course, he's on the freshest inters that he's had in a while, And he is, I was going to say 13 seconds down from being 15 seconds down earlier, but now he's gone back over 14 seconds. So the gap, it's going to fluctuate here and there. Frank Hamming needs to make sure he doesn't burn up the Inters chasing these two, because then the likes of Dragoon and Quint could start giving him some grief behind.
Yeah, precisely. Yeah, he doesn't want any further stress knowing how his lead was before he changed tires. So Harvey, and yeah, in fairness to Mary, has gained 0.3 in sector 2 on this last or this current lap. And we'll see if anything else occurs as they cross over onto lap 20. Yeah, Harvey gains him back, so yeah, it is roughly 1/10 apart per lap between these two, unless Harvey decides to get involved with a side-by-side. Mayer a little high there.
Oh, Thomas Harvey's really just got to be careful, because if he takes Jack Mayer out, then there's going to be some harsh words after this, I fear. Meanwhile, looking at Frelic's pace, he's finally caught up to the back of Carlos Martin for P14 in that fight. So Frelic, despite the heavy damage it took earlier, has been setting the timing screen somewhat alight. 50.7 last time around. Martin was 2 tenths slower, despite Martin also being on some fairly fresh tyres as well. So Simon Frelic really, he hasn't given up on this race. He could still get a decent couple of points, and that's going to be absolutely crucial in terms of damage limitation for his championship, especially if Mike Quint is able to get a top 5 out of this one.
Indeed, yeah. So we'll see how this carries on with Harvey. Probably happy to settle into shadowing of Mayer to see if there's any possibility of gaining via a mistake or any other unforeseen circumstance.
Lap like he went wide into the Schumacher S there.
Yeah, a little bit wide, yeah.
Not as wide as Frelic, as we saw earlier. He went completely off track and into the air. But Harvey might be, he is the man third in the championship, if I remember correctly, so he might be just having the thinking, well, I've got my 2 rivals behind me, so I'm 15 points down. I could really cut into that gap after this if I just stay where I am and hope Mayer maybe slips up in front of me.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, yeah, Harvey does lose time in that second sector. He would have clawed it back. Yeah, at this point, yeah, he's again in the close range. Yeah, here's Quint in 5th place with 10 laps remaining. And that is Dragoon for position. So yeah, he is gaining on him now. Yeah, it should be close between himself and Dragoon in this most recent lap. 1 or 2 tenths between them. Yeah,
is it Dragoon and Mitchell, the 2 Rowan GP guys, just sort of swap positions in this race?
Yes,
we had Mitchell that was on the podium earlier, and then Dragoon is just completely kind of, since Mitchell went in the gravel very briefly, it's sort of Dragoon, who was before on the verges of the top 10, switched I think after 11 laps to go on to the from the Inter to the full wet, and it's really flown up the order. I think he's kind of undercut some of those that were in front of him earlier on, like Mike Quint, for instance, and that's how he's been able to get into this position. But Quint, I think, might be in a stronger position when we get into the closing stages, because the Dragoon, those tyres like nearly 9-10 laps older as Mike Quint's full wets are. Let's have a look how old they are. They're about 4 laps old, aren't they? So there's a significant delta there for Quint to take advantage of.
That's very true. So yeah, Dragoon taking the mantle for Rowan GP at this stage, but we now check out the lead battle once more. Hamming not making those gains into the leaders as he needs to. At some point you'll want to put in a really strong lap time to get underneath 10 seconds, and then you'll be on target. But as of right now, it is definitely the wet weather tyres suiting the conditions appropriately. Harvey getting very close now, and he's got to stay away from too many major puddles, but cooling the tyres at the same time.
Yeah, 51.5 last time around for Hamming, whereas the 2 leaders in the 51.7. So he's only taking 2 tenths out. He's gonna come up short here at this current pace then, Frank Hamming. So he's not quite getting the performance out of the Inters that he was earlier on. Track temperature 31 degrees. So yeah, it doesn't look like the conditions have really improved at all. We're in a sort of stagnation, as it were, where the moisture's just hanging on the track and the full wets are taking advantage.
Yeah, that was the fear for many of the drivers who took intermediates at the beginning. Federico Russo not showing any fear versus Vincent Gutt. Gutt will want to stay high in turn 2 and then turn it back on him into turn 4. But no, that looks to be Russo in control of this position, and Luke Mitchell watching to see if anything happens there. But as a matter of fact, Russo has gotten clear of Gutt.
Yeah, very clean from Russo. He did make a little bit of a mistake earlier in the race, so good to see him recovering. But 6 seconds to Moynier now, so I think Russo's just got to hold on to that top 8 for the final 8 laps then.
Yeah, it would be excellent to see him getting that result. Possibility of reverse grid pole as well. That's a factor that'll be on the minds of those drivers. 6th to 10th place, they'll be all desperate to hang on in there for that result. Mike Quint, that'll be none of his concern. He knows the championship tilt will benefit from a result here, and if he can gain any more places, that's more the merrier, I'm sure. Comparing his pace, he is losing out a little bit in sector 2, but he did gain in sector 1. So yeah, there's a difference in setup and preference between these drivers in 4th and 5th. In the background there, Maciej Hille as well, let's not forget him. He's looking very quick as well.
Yeah, Hille doing very, very well to hold off Moynier, actually, right behind him. But of the guys in the reverse group hold contention, it's Luke Mitchell, 5 seconds ahead of Hoekstra. That's the final one in it at the moment. And he's the only one of the few on the Inters at the moment, along with Frank Hamming, Hoekstra and Quant, of course. But it's up front, Mayer setting a personal best, 151.2, so that was 6/10 quicker than Thomas Harvey last time around. And Dragoon also setting personal best, so his lap time's very, very similar to Mike Quint behind. So Dragoon has upped his pace to match the challenge from behind, so Mike Quint, he might not have things all his own way, but Dragoon's got to be careful not to fly off the road. It's still absolutely treacherous out there. And oh, here we go! Menno Collin in a battle then, and that's him being passed again by, is that, who's this then?
That's Martin, isn't it?
Martin, yes, Martin at the inside then, so I couldn't see through the spray, but Lucchini got through first, and Collin, hits the back of Martin.
Wow, yeah, that's bravery that we love to see. Martin, getting involved there. He knows results probably got away from him today, but still 13 not too bad. Freilich, get out of my way. This is crucial as Menno Collin has to play spoiler and benefit his teammate. But how much longer you can hold on those intermediates, I have to say, it's a losing battle unless there is somehow a reduction in the severity of the weather. But there we go. Menno Collin did everything he could, but Freilich is on a real mission now to claw back as many points as he can.
Absolutely, very clean, and noticeably less. He's took better care of the wet tyres than he did in his first attempt there through the Schumacher race, and they were, as a result, a bit kinder to him. But now he's just got to catch up, back up to the back of Martin, and try and take advantage of that battle with Lucchini up ahead of him. But Freilich has done well, actually, to claw back a couple of points out of this at the moment, as Moynier is going to come up the inside of Hille into turn 1, and Hille's going to have the inside for turn 2 subsequently.
Yeah, so Hille has the opposite scenario from what I had earlier. A little slide there. Does that open the door? No, it doesn't. It's shut again. Oh, wow, that was close. Well, yeah, Hille has definitely got my singing voice enabled there for a moment, but there we go.
Sounded like you're on a roller coaster there.
Yeah,
There's a roller coaster right next to the track here at the Nürburgring, funnily enough. It was installed in the last 10 years or so. But anyway, Mike Quint also hasn't given up on challenging Dragoon. Last lap for Dragoon, 50.9, Quint 50.6, so 3 attempts quicker. We're seeing the full wet definitely being the tyre to be on, and Hamming's pace 51.0, so he's not too much quicker than the leaders. In fact, he's a little bit slower than Dragoon and Quint behind him, who are only about 4 seconds behind. So Dragoon, if the Inters really drop off in pace like we've seen through the rest of the field, Hamming could be in trouble for that podium.
Yeah, that's certainly a possibility. Hamming
Hille really struggling in the background there for, I think that's turn 9, turn 10. and just about getting out in front of Moynier before they come to the chicane.
Yeah, that was a close shave there for Hille. Yeah, we've seen him multiple times wrestling that car all around the circuit.
Very fun to watch, though. So
Yeah,
full marks to Messi Chile. If there were style points, he'd get all of them. But 6th place, still going to get 8 points, I think, unless I got the scoring system completely wrong.
Yes, yeah, it should be about right, yeah. Nevertheless, we'll see Mounier. Yeah, he's a little later on the brakes, but nothing untoward. And you can see there's the battle for 5th and 4th occurring on the foreground of the camera shot there. And there it is once more. But yeah, Hille, his determination should see him continue to set decent lap times, but Mounier, if he can get close, there'll be fireworks.
Absolutely. Like you say, Mounier just looking a little bit more confident on the brakes than in his... it's not been a great day for TCS off so far. So Moynier looking to salvage some pride. But 5 laps to go then, and Jack Mayer has got the gap out to 2.3 over Thomas Harvey. So it looks like Harvey has... I don't want to say given up, but he's certainly decided discretion's the better part of valor. And in a race like this, it's just you just need to make it to the end. Hamming has actually cut the gap a little bit, 11.9 seconds to Thomas Harvey. The gap to Dragoon pretty much the same, 4.1. And then, of course, it's Quint all over the back of Jan Dragoon. And Dragoon, who's gained 14 places in this race, easily the biggest gainer, soaking up the pressure at the moment. But Quint is going to absolutely start to apply it now, well and truly, if he hadn't been doing so already.
Yeah, this is the final furlong, really, with the last 5 laps remaining. So, yeah, hopefully, for the sake of the drivers, they don't need to worry about any more tyre changes unless that is their original strategy. Certainly, Quint and Dragoon, it's an equal fight. See how Quint does, continuing to follow in the spray. A fast lap there, 1:49 from Mounier. So that is a real message of intent, as Hille is very equally matched as well, but that was a fantastic final sector.
Oh, here we go.
Is now on the move. Take it away, Ed.
There we go. So Moynier tries to go up the inside, which becomes the outside for turn 2, and Hille completely sees it coming and just stays exactly where he is because he knows he's got the better line there. And oh, there we go, just losing the rear as they go through turns 3 and 4. And Moynier continues to stick right to the back of him like glue as they go towards turns 5 and 6. Cambered sort of almost going downhill now. So easy to drop it here in these late phases of the race. But Hille somehow managing to keep it pointing roughly in the right direction, if with a little bit of flourish, as we say. And up at front, you can see, is that Dragoon going a little bit wide on the exit of the hairpin. So let's hope he gets the run he needs to keep Mike Quint at bay. But Mike Quint, as I say, absolutely relentless competitor. As so we go with some Moynier in the box seats, essentially, of the best view of both battles. But good middle sector here from, as you see how wide he goes into the braking zone for, is that 7 and 8 for
10, 11 there,
Dragoon. 10, 11, sorry. I'm losing track of the corners here. On to getting right out on the curb. So Dragoon is absolutely pushing like crazy, as he has been pretty much the entire race somehow, and it somehow worked for him in the wet. Usually if you push that much, you just fly off the road, but Hille proving us wrong here and keeping Loic Moynier very much in the rearview mirror. But Moynier is going to absolutely start moving around in these final few laps to try and make something happen, as Hamming feels like the track is finally starting to dry up a little bit, because Hamming is now setting best laps in the Inters. Perhaps he's just kept them alive for a bit later in the race.
Yeah, that could have been the logic behind Hamming's rise. He wanted to see how the weather presented itself, and now
3 laps to go though. 9 seconds for Harvey. He's left it a bit too late, I think.
Yeah, Harvey is sort of in the 151s now. Mayer's definitely got the advantage, so 2 seconds a lap. It could come down to the very last. But for the case of Quint, his job is to see what Dragoon does, and if the moment arises, he'll want to make the move and complete it once and for all. So we'll see now into the first well, the second sector hairpin, I suppose we can call it. We'll see how corner exit compares. Yeah, it's about the same.
I should read then the corner names for the Nürburg ring, because I know there's Schumacher S, there's the Mullenbach shaft, and I can't remember any of the others. But
yeah,
that's
the Warsteiner curve, that's turn 11. And
yeah, and there's the loop, I think, which is the turns 1, 2, 3, and 4, essentially, the added complex from about 2002, but 20 years ago. Oh, and there's Frelick up the inside of Lucchini. I was about to say he's about 2 tenths behind Lucchini, and there we go, round the outside before they get to the hairpin. So Frelick still gaining places. He's a little bit too far back. There's a 7-second gap between Martin and Hoekstra, so I don't think Frelick's going to be able to get into reverse grid contention, but certainly can put himself in a better position for race 2 than he otherwise would have been if he'd just given up and gone for 15th on a wheel just on the grass there. So that shows you just how much he's pushing as he goes into turn 11 there. And Hamming, again, another fastest lap, 1:49.3. 7 seconds the gap to the leaders. He's got another second on Dran Dragoon, who's absolutely still got his mirrors absolutely aflutter with Mike Quint in them. As Hiller, similar situation with Moynier.
Yeah, goodness. So yeah, Hamming has reached his target so far for the sake of catching Harvey, but he has to continue cutting into those deficits. It has to be about a second and a half per lap to fully get caught up. But Munier and Hilla proving to be late game heroes here at the minute, doing very, very well. It's just a case of the drivers in front of them were just a little bit too good, but we'll see if anything else were to occur. But Munier, knows with his substitute teammate out of the race, TCS off, just need to put this first race behind them.
Both of them so eager to get on the power and coming out of the hairpin there.
Yeah, make sure that they don't lose out too much to Build Sim, as they are direct rivals in the championship. 138 points for Build Sim compared to 123 for TCS off.
Yeah, and of course with Luke Mitchell gaining 10th in the Rowan GP, that's the final reverse grid spot with Hoekstra. It's 6 tenths down on him, so watch out for that battle that could have significant implications for race 2. But let's watch this. Moynier up the inside into the chicane, gets on the brakes, slides, and just forces Heiler a little bit off track there.
Yeah, he will be desperate to say, I got the move done, I was on the inside, that corner was mine. Hiller will feel the opposite way, but if there's one thing you can do about it, it is stay close and hope for a mistake. Here's the onboard from Hiller's point of view, getting to 100-meter boards before he changes down the gear. So yeah, that is interesting. Perhaps Hiller had nowhere to go, so he was taken onto the runoff and out of position.
Was it me? Did Moynier lift on the exit there to make sure he didn't gain advantage from the contact or something? Because that felt a little bit like he was slow on the power. Yeah, so Moynier slides in, and Heiler, it feels like, turns into him from the outside there. Maybe there was nowhere, like you say, maybe nowhere else for Heiler to go. He didn't expect that TCF off racing car to be there.
It might even be a case of track limits where all the front wheels inside the curbs are not. But yeah, we will figure that out after the race. I'm sure those two will have one last vision of each other. But now Mike Quint, this is his build up now. The foundations have been set. Is there a way past Dragoon before the final lap passes? So yeah, it could be a case where Dragoon has better top line speed, and then Quint's cornering ability is a bit better. We'll compare once more. Another left-right combo. The Warsteiner, I think it is. So yeah, again, yeah, it does seem to be similar enough for Dragoon. He has that top speed.
Well, he's also been driving very defensively well into the tighter corners where Quint seems to have a little bit of an advantage, where he's always able to sort of get to the inside as early as he can and get on the power as early as he can, so that Mike Quint can't just dive up the inside at his leisure. So we see the tyres just complaining, enough, this race is nearly over. We've only got to do one more lap then, as Mayer is already on the final lap then. 3.6 the gap to Thomas Harvey. Harvey 7.1 ahead of Frank Hamming, who was actually a little bit slow, as Hamming's charge is well and truly halted then. The best he can do is, I think, 7 seconds down on Thomas Harvey. in third, which is a shame because it did look like Hamming was in the mix to win earlier, but the Inters were not the right tyre in the end to go for. He maybe could have risked it going on the wets and pitting a bit earlier, but it's easy to say in hindsight, isn't it? Maybe it wouldn't have put him in a different position with Mayer and Harvey staying out since the beginning.
Yeah, very true. So yeah, Hamming will hopefully adjust for race 2, and then he'll have a chance at getting that critical first win of the season. But another podium if he carries on the form, that would be very, very welcome to him. We'll get him up the championship order. But here we go, the final sector for Jack Mayer, between him and another victory for himself and TOP in this 2023 campaign. So he crosses the sector line now, and it is a case of just keep it calm, nothing in your mirrors, just do your own job, and the race win will belong to you. So 2 corners to go, got to turn right once and then a second time. Lap traffic will not be a concern, he can slow it down. So through the final hairpin, and job done. Jack Mayer takes race 1 glory here at the Nürburgring, and that is a fantastic moment for him. 2 wins on the bounce. He will be absolutely thrilled, Ed.
Absolutely. Sort of Mayer and Harvey, because they didn't pit, it almost felt like they came out of nowhere, but here comes Dragoon, who will hold off Mike Quint for that 4th position then. So excellent drive by Jan Dragoon to go from, I think, 19th to 4th there in this race.
Yeah, he was definitely one of the candidates for driver of the day with that fantastic rise up the order. The top 10 plus 11th are in camera shot now. We'll see Gut, Len Mitchell and Hoekstra claiming points there for their respective teams. Spark will be satisfied with 2 top 10s. Menno Klont will be the last point scorer there in P15. So Multiforce, again, they'll think about, could have been a better day, but it could have been worse as well. So there we go, Ed. That's race 1 in the bag, and Jack Mayer on his cool down lap now. He can celebrate the win and worry about the reverse grid draw when it occurs. So yeah, now time for donuts. I know, I think other series we had the turn 1 at Jeddah, there was room for donuts, but here it's just not necessary. You can just take
it's also way too wet. We've seen more than enough spins in this race, to be honest.
Yeah, we've seen that's true.
But yeah, the experience of Jack Mayer and Thomas Harvey, of course, Mayer champion last year. Harvey's done a few seasons as well. I like to get me a little bit on the power, so a little bit of celebratory on the power, fishtailing. But yeah, they had the experience to know, A, to start on the full wet, and B, to get them to last as long as they could. And Frelick was probably going to try and do the same thing as well until he had that accident. So you see Mayer just getting it right today and staying out of trouble.
There's a wobble.
Absolutely crucial. There we go, another one there. And Harvey, I think, didn't quite have the pace of Mayer in those closing stages. But here we go anyway, Eoin. You can read the results if you want.
Thanks very much, Ed. So it is Jack Mayer taking victory to certainly rebound his championship ambitions. Thomas Harvey did his best. P2, still a strong result. Frank Hamming, who thought there was a win within him today, it was just a tire choice, maybe worked against him, but a 3rd place for HGP. Very, very respectful, that's for sure. Dragoon, Quint, Hilla, Munier, Russo, Gut and Mitchell complete our top 10. And the remaining points are awarded to Hoekstra, Martin, Freilich, Likini and Klont. But hard luck, I suppose, to Zabinski, Rolschak, Watson, Koenig and Fuentes, all on the lead lap, but not able to capitalize on the conditions. And then the 2 other drivers on the lead lap were Guzovsky and Marino. Beaulieu was a lap down there, but DNFs for Maggio, Voice, and then Andre, who we had high hopes for in the build-up. You had any closing thoughts for yourself?
Yeah, pretty eventful and strategic as well, race 1. So interesting to see what happens in the 10 lap shorter but no less thrilling encounter that race 2, I'm sure, is going to be. We'll have to see if Mayer and Harvey can make their way through again, or if the likes of Hiller, Moynier, Russo, Gut and Mitchell can capitalize from whoever's going to be drawn on a reverse group pole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose there's chance for a bit of a regroup and reset. So we'll take a quick break, but join us again for race 2, and we will be able to reveal who has reverse grid pole. So please stay tuned. And we're delighted to return to the Nürburg ring for Formula Sprint 1 Race 2 action. It is myself, Eoin Harmon, alongside Edward Hunter. And over the break, we had confirmation of the reverse grid pole, and it goes to the driver who finished 6th, and that was Maciej Hille. So he delivered a lot of excitement, and now he has the opportunity to put that build sim to the test ahead of everyone else and see if he gets the win. So Ed, do you think he can pull it off?
Well, it's going to be a different challenge altogether now, with the conditions starting to change ever so slightly. Looks like track tempers stayed roughly the same, gone back up to 36 degrees. It did go to, I think, 32, 34 towards the end of race 1 there. So I don't think we're near track drying up territory, but it could be another case of inters versus wets, and people who've learned are probably going to go for the wets, and people who haven't might go for the inter. They might risk it on the inters, try and get a good start and hold that track position, like we saw Frank Hamming try to do. But yeah, Hille, we saw him slip and slide his way to 6th, and after being beaten by Moynier, I did say just before we went on air, a bit of a consolation prize reverse scooter pole there. So let's hope that Hille can make the best of it and get a decent top 5 or so finish. This is a great opportunity for him here. He's just showing great car control today. Let's see if he can get a good position for his efforts.
Yeah, and I know from previous rounds, myself and Yusuf were intrigued to see how he would pull off his strategies. That he usually loved to go off strategy. But that obviously cannot occur in the same way under these wet conditions. But nevertheless, there is a potential for certain drivers to gamble on a different compound of tires, but with a 20-lap race, it could be too difficult for the intermediates to make it all the way. Having the data from race 1 showing that drivers who pitted to get rid of their intermediates lasted, some of them were about 18 laps, that kind of territory. So getting a full 20-lap race out of intermediates could be extremely difficult. We'll find out exactly what the plans are for each driver and each team when they're summoned to the grid, Ed.
Yeah, I've just been trying to work out the championship points as well. So Jack Mayer won, took 25 points. I think Quint in 5th took 11 points. So that's, of that 14-point gap, about 14 points, I think, actually being taken out by Jack Mayer. So it's going to be very, very close in the overall lead. And Frelick, of course, getting a couple of points down in 13th. He only gets 3 points then. So he's definitely been a bit overtaken. losing about 20 points to his rivals. A big blow there, but a great chance to catch back up here.
Yeah, Jeddah race 1 for Freilich was, one of his great disappointments. So the fact that he did recover to 4th in that race 2 means he has the preference to do it all over again. But let's now check out this reverse grid. With Hille, his number came up, and it is P1 for him. Quint, P2, with Dragoon and Hamming 3rd and 4th. Then we have Harvey, Mayer, Munier, and Russo on the verge of that podium battle there. Rose 3 and 4. And then in the top 10, it's Vincent Gut and Luke Mitchell. They're followed by Wopke Hoekstra and Carlos Martin. Next up, it's Szymon Freilich. His determination to catch back up will be shown. Lucchini, Klont, and Zubinski in that 14th to 16th range. Patrick Roszak, Omari Watson, Philip Koenig, and Juanma Fuentes complete our top 20. And then our final 3 cars, as we've got reduction in numbers, it's Gazowski, Marino, and Beaulieu taking up those final positions.
Yeah, shame to see the likes of Maggio and Darius Andre not returning after difficult first races then. But I guess nonetheless, everyone else will have to carry on. And we see the tyre choices on screen then. So Hamming for some reason in the pits. It's weird. It's showing him on the blue tyres, which I believe are the dries. So it's no weird. So Frank Hamming, I might have even had some sort of disconnection or something. Yeah, soft tyres there. But predominantly everyone on wets, with only Hoekstra, Zubrinski, and Gazowski starting on the inters then and gambling. I think Hamming was going to start on the inters as well. Or was he on the wets before he pit there? I didn't quite see in time.
Yeah, I didn't catch it either. I thought he was on the... Yeah, I didn't really see exactly what he had in mind. But yeah, it's Hyperion. They're going for United front there. They're both taking the same approach. Hoekstra is not following his teammates' lead there. We'll see what he has in store. But yeah, everyone now on the grid to get... Yeah, so we've Hamming missing. Is it someone else in the pit lane start? That's... is it Harvey's missing? Yeah.
Oh!
Contact!
And Harvey hits the back of Bulio.
So something happened to Harvey on this formation lap. And surely, to goodness, that's a full restart, because you cannot have a driver who had no responsibility for that incident having their rear wing missing. You cannot start a race under those circumstances.
So Bulio minding his own business, getting into his grid slot, and then just gets absolutely clobbered at the back. And he's going to try and start the race without a rear wing. This is insanity, Eoin.
This is crazy stuff in the full wet. There's no way.
Yeah, I think Harvey could be in a little bit of trouble for that. I think not only being late to the grid, but here we go. We get going anyway. And Hille makes a clean getaway.
Yeah, race officials will have their work cut out even before they allowed the race to start. But nevertheless, it is the run down to turn 1. Hille has the inside line defense. Dragoon wants to overtake Quint. Is there any possibility of it happening now? I think Harvey. And that's Munier alongside him as well. So Munier, who we saw battling hard in race 1, is picking up where he left off. He's got to be careful though out of turn 4. Still alongside him is Harvey. So Harvey also working that inside line now for the next left-right complex.
And that's Mounier through then. So brilliant stuff there from the Frenchman there. He was really aggressive at the start. And is that somebody around that? I think that's Hoekstra dropping down on the inters then. So the inters really not seeking these conditions. The conditions have gotten worse here at the Nürburgring. But it's Hille leading Quint, who's going to be the big danger at the moment to him. And then we've got Dragoon holding off Mounier, Harvey, Mayer, Russo, Hoekstra, Gut, and Mitchell rounding out the top 10 currently.
Yeah, so a good mix of drivers. Watching Freilich, he's actually down a position from his 13th starting point. Now we have our scoreboard up, and half a second separates the race leader Hille from nearest competitor Quint, who has the habit of getting second places. He was broken in race 1, but he wants to pick that opportunity up now if he can do it. with Dragoon for Rowan third. Now a big queue here. The other Rowan of Mitchell is taking the inside line on Carlos Martin, but Martin too quick for that.
That was good, trying to attack Luke Mitchell there, and he did get through just before they got to the chicane, but Mitchell a little bit later on the brakes, able to hold on to that top 10 position. And now Frelich around the outside. Is that Zabinski he's fighting with there?
Yes, that is Zabinski.
Oh, but so Zabinski's still going to have the inside, so Frelich's going to have to cut him off before they turn in to the first hairpin here, and it's going to be very, very tight. So Frelich will just hold his nerve around the outside, and now it becomes the inside for turn 2 as he slips and slides his way back into the top 14.
It's Fuentes actually. Yeah, Fuentes wants to position on Frelich, and then Zabinski's ahead. So there's Zabinski, who is running those intermediate tires. He's in Lucchini's spray. And then Guzovsky also on the intermediates. As we see now, Zabinski wants that inside line for turn 5, but now contact, wheel to wheel. So thankfully nothing too severe for either competitor. Then the run down to the hairpin. And Zabinski has the overspeed, but can he get those wheels in front on the corner exit? Outside line will now become the inside for Schumacher S, and he's got it.
There we go. So Zabinski really having to hold it out there, with Lucchini sort of assaulting him up the inside there, almost unseen by Zabinski. But wow, we also see Bulio retiring from the race. Rozak briefly retiring, but now back in the race somehow. But Bulio, of course, had that missing rear wing, courtesy of Thomas Harvey. I'm almost certain is going to get some sort of post-race investigation made into how that happened. But Bulio, I'm sure, not going to be too impressed with those antics there.
No, he'll be, apoplectic there. He was just minding his own business, and then he got hit by a driver who was out of his original grid slot. So yeah, there were gaps in the lineups for the grid. So Hilla pulls out a very strong lap time. He's consistent in 3 sectors. Munier, though, wants to get on the podium. He's got the cutback here. And Dragoon,
he can pull this one.
Well, that is Munier still side by side, though. But now for turn 4.
He's having to go the more circuitous route, isn't he? The long way round. So Dragoon has got the shorter line. But now we go into turn 5. Side by side. And there's a bit of side-on contact there. And Dragoon is just able to hold to the inside, pushes to the racing line, and almost forces. He didn't realise he wasn't all the way in front of Loic Moynier, so a bit of contact's made again. And perhaps a little bit of vision issues there, because I think he thought he was further ahead than he actually was, Jan Dragoon. We saw Dragoon put in that beautiful defence against Mike Quint to finish in the top 4 last time. Now he's holding on to the top 3 with Quint ahead of him, and the pack, including Harvey, Mayer, Russo and Hoekstra, all closing in. So Moynier is going to have to regroup and have another attempt to do to Dragoon what he did to Hila at the end of race 1.
Yeah, exactly right. We'll see how he is able to deal with the higher stakes for a podium, albeit the points are reduced compared to what you can get in race 1. So yeah, it will be 1 less point if he manages to get on to 3rd place by race end. But yeah, we're heading into our next lap. Hilla continues to hold that half a second advantage. But let me see, Munier working away. Harvey, though, is too far back in his Spark car. So it is really a case of Dragoon on the defence. And Mike Quint actually gets the fastest lap, so he's able to reply with an exact same
identical lap time, yeah, to 3 decimal places. There we go. So that really shows just how literally evenly matched Messi, Tyler and Mike Quint are at the moment.
Yeah, that is absolutely remarkable in such treacherous weather. Now we'll see if Munier, he won't be side by side this go around. That's for.
In fact, both of them are beaten by Zabinski on the Inters. They set a 150.283 down in 12th. As we see Jack Mayer in trouble.
And Jack Mayer is tumbling down the order. He is out.
And he's retired.
So it will not be a double result here. Mayer has DNF'd, meaning his huge impetus for this race has vanished, and it means his teammate Frelich, now he has to carry the baton again. So we'll now have to further rewind this replay. So that's unfortunate for our race
director. What a difference 5 minutes makes, doesn't it, for Jack Mayer then? But that's a big shame, and a massive open door in the championship for Mike Quint then. Here we go then. So Mayer, who's running behind Thomas Harvey then, in 6th position. Oh, and it just shuts down on him completely. Did the throttle on in there?
He's had hardware issues in the past. I know that was what Australia race 2 had for him. He lost his connection through the hardware, so that's what wasn't a driver error or anything like that. So yeah, he just pulled over, or else his system shut down on him. He had just gone straight on and lost all his traction. Yeah, so
I'm seeing a comment from Josh Downard saying full game freeze for Jack there. So that's probably what happened to Mayer then, and he just tried to get out of the way so that no one else collected into the back of him. And now here we go, battle for the lead between Mike Quint and Maciej Hiller. So Hiller has now got to defend like crazy, as indeed does Jan Dragoon, because Loic Moynier isn't done with him yet. No, not by a long shot.
Yeah, this is so important for TCS off. They know they're a driver down now for both races. We'll see if Dragoon is feeling the pressure or not, but Zabinski though is proving the gamble on intermediates is paying off. Certainly he is leading the way in that regard. Hoekstra obviously has also followed that same routine and is in 6th place, so Zabinski has lap pace, but Hoekstra has track position.
Yeah, track temperature's gone up to 35 degrees, so actually, although the race started and it was full wet territory, are we slowly inching towards Inter territory here, where you might be better off pitting for Inters before the next 15 laps elapse then. I think some of the front runners are going to try and go to the end, but we could see a few guys near the back, like Rozak, and has Mayer been able to get back into it as well? So that is a good... Oh no, I don't think he has. I'm misreading the phone screen there, but I think Rozak, Marino, Watson could all try and risk it on the Inters then, near the back of the field. They're on wets at the moment with Gazowski. It's only 3 on the Inters at the moment. Gazowski, Zabinski, and Hoekstra.
Yeah, that's very true. For the race lead, let's resume our coverage here of Quint on the attack. Hilla trying to make use of that reverse grid pole. Comparing lap times, it shouldn't be a dead heat this time. No, it's not, but it is still really close. Quint's gaining a small bit, particularly in sector 3. Now, that DRS open. Yes.
Oh, and Moynier goes very deep there, so not quite able to take advantage. Almost didn't realise he was going to have DRS. I reckon even in the wet, I bet they're just pressing the button out of instinct whenever they're in range of the guy in front. And Loic Moynier realising, oh, it's working, even though it's still, everyone's on wet tyres. It may not be raining fully, but it is still pretty much wet conditions.
Yeah, so, yeah, I'd say the drivers just do their own thing. Dragoon probably got a bit of a shock when he found out his competitor had the rear wing open. But, yeah, we'll see if that carries on or not, if it was a fluke. So the drivers can carry on with these tyres as they please. They don't have to pit unless it feels they're not going to finish the race due to the tyres wearing out. So I'll now see if Thomas Harvey or anyone else close to Mounier can do anything about this. So see, it is the interval showing Harvey's on that 1 second bubble, but nothing more. Now Zabinski wants to take on and overtake Federico Russo. Felix sets the purple sector 1 just behind these two, so watch out.
Yeah, Frelick making good progress past Vincent Gutenau, so Frelick slowly inching towards the top 10, but Mike Quint desperate to get a hurry up here and find a way past Hiller, but Hiller has he's not shown any chinks in the armor. He's been given the big opportunity here, and he's absolutely going for it, isn't he? And Mike Quint is going to have to work very, very hard to steal this win here in race 2 in FS1.
Yeah, that's close. Yeah, he wants
nearly
to...
clattered into the back of him there as we see another fastest lap from Zabinski on the Inters then, 1:49.6. And that was a final sector where he really gained all that time, 28.274.
It's fantastic, yeah, really confident driving here from Matthias Zabinski. We'll see if Mitchell, who is ahead of both of the drivers in Zabinski's way, that's Russo in between. So Zabinski is throwing down the gauntlet, and Mitchell is the slowest out of that group at 150.4, 8/10 of a second slower than Zabinski's purple time. So we'll see how else. Yeah, he is very comfortable on that accelerator pedal. Now it's full throttle before braking into the hairpin. Yeah, he's got a little bit more grip on turn in and exit. Looks fairly.
Yeah, I feel like the track is starting to dry up because we've seen another purple first sector for a Hiller up front, 34.709. So it definitely. Oh, as we see Zabinski just going very wide over the curb and almost into the gravel there, but somehow survives. So Russo gets to escape just a little bit then. But it definitely feels like the longer the race goes on, the more we go into territory where we can see the wets left absolutely stranded in the final 5 or 4 laps here, Owen.
Yeah, that was Hamming's wish to achieve, but it didn't pay off. But yeah, as you say, it could be a complete U-turn on the fortunes, and the likes of Hill and Quint have to be alert to that scenario. Quint will brake at roughly the same time as his nearest rival. Zabinski continues to try his best. This go around, he's a lot slower in a wobble there for Hilla. That's very concerning if that happens again. We know this corner in particular sent his rear tires facing in a whole wide angle. He's able to catch some of these slides, in fairness to him.
Yeah, I've been looking at Hoekstra's lap times, and he's been catching Harvey, but not all that quickly. 1.1 seconds the gap at the moment. So while the Inters are the better tyre, I still think the guys, especially the top 5 that started on the full wets, may as well stick it out. I think it's only really the guys near the very, very back of the field that might take a gamble on the Inters at the moment. So despite the track conditions changing, it's not enough. The delta isn't big enough to really justify swapping tyres, because the time you take for a pit stop, it's what, 20-25 seconds here, isn't it, all told? So yeah, I think most of them are probably going to stay out then, and it just be, if we start seeing the Inters make a massive jump up in our lap time, that's when I think people are going to start getting worried.
Yeah, that would be that's the sort of cutoff of maybe 148s would tell.
I think the DRS is having to close it mid corner there, almost. Mike Quint there.
Expect that to be a DRS zone, but this could be a chance now if Quinn stays right behind Hilla. This will be the valid DRS opportunity, or slip and slides here. Hilla's aware he's hooking it inside. We hadn't seen that at all in race 1, but here and now. This is Quint on the outside line. He's got 4 wheels ahead.
Might have this.
Stay clear of the runoff. No.
Didn't quite get the traction. And Moynier's second fastest laps as well behind this as he fights with Dragoon. He's about 9 tenths down. And Zabinski sets, I think, another fast lap of the race, 149.0, as he's still stuck behind Russo, though, down in 10th.
Yeah, that's a real concern there for Hyperion. They know they're on a strong tyre.
And Hoekstra is actually caught right back up to Harvey. 6 tenths is the gap now.
Yeah, that's another good point there, Ed. So yeah, I was trying to formulate. Yeah, Zabinski in Sector 2 has great pace, but in Sector 3 you're brought to a crawl when a chicane and a hairpin don't allow for overtaking. So unless you really get side by side. So yeah, Zabinski's ability to set those great lap times don't matter as much if you can't make places up. We'll certainly be aware of Freilig's lap times too. He wants to close that gap to Zabinski.
Yeah, Freilig is an absolute demon in that first sector, isn't he? 34.6 that last time around compared to everyone else in sort of the high 34s or mid 35s for the leaders, actually. So Hiller really setting the pace, dictating the pace rather at the moment, and Quint can't really go around the outside of these corners because that's not really where the grip is, especially at turn 1. Let's see as they come around again, and more fishtailing from Hiller, but he's a little bit further ahead on this occasion. So the DRS, it will bring Drag Quint a bit closer in as Martin makes a mistake and it starts to fall down the order, and in fact DNFs.
Oh gosh, so what has happened to Carlos Martin? His season has been, you said in race 1, this track is like a roller coaster, and his overall season has certainly felt that way. He has DNF'd for the 5th time.
It's disconnection.
In the 6th round. Yeah, disconnection has cost him any chance of a result today. So yeah, the replays confirm that. That's frustration.
And it's Hoekstra getting past Harvey there as we just come back from the replay, sorry. So yeah, Harvey was sort of left the inside open there, I think turn 4, and Hoekstra was just up like a ferret up a drain pipe there. He didn't let that one go. So the Inter's still sending very, very impressive lap times. What was that last time for Hoekstra? 50.2, being stuck behind Harvey, so he's 4 tenths quicker. But Moynier about 2.4 seconds up the road, so Hoekstra could maybe sneak a podium here if he can catch up to Dragoon. But it depends how long these Inters can hold on for compared to the wets then.
Very true, and Hoekstra haven't really seen the very best out of him in this campaign. But a top 5 would smash his best result for HGP since he started this 2023 season. And as a matter of fact, his best result was a 9th place in Australia. So this is a huge improvement in his fortune. So that's a case of the driver taking to the conditions and really thriving in them. But as we continue to see Quint not able to get alongside Hilla, he is about the same distance behind as he was on
and
the previous
he's almost backed into Dragoon a little bit here with 10 laps or halfway through the race now. So Hilla, far from what I said, I was predicting top 5, wasn't I? I think he's going for the win here. As we see a little bit of battling further back then as a few people making pit stops. That's Zubinski, so the Inter is actually starting to die then, if that's anything to go by. Zubinski maybe was pushing them too hard to set fastest laps. And Gazowski, the other guy on Inter's going in also. That would suggest Hoekstra is going to be in quite soon as well. He's got 3-second gap in front of him to Loic Moynier. And Harvey's still all over him. But the main thing we've got to watch here is Quint versus Hilla. And Mike Quint has just been... he's given it a go around the outside with DRS into turn 1. But other than that, he's been very, very patient, hasn't he? He knows, starting second, this was a race that could just maybe come to him. And now he's right in the back of Maciej Hilla as they squirrel their way out of the hairpin and towards the Schumacher S.
Oh, that's close. 2 wheels on that high curb. Hilla does not feel any stress on his suspension or his tires, so he's able to get good speed out of the Schumacher S. Quint, though, he knows further points will eventually pay dividends as the TOP guys just have mixed fortunes. Either they're winning or they're having some piece of dreadful luck with their connection or their equipment. So yeah, it is a case of Quint. He's able to
it was a screen freeze from every race.
Screen freeze, exactly, yeah. So Quint is able to make it to the finish in every race he's entered in 2023. So another example of that. Wouldn't go amiss, but yeah, he'd love to get a win eventually, just to say I really am going to get Multiforce back on top.
Yeah, well, it must have been a while since Multiforce won a race in FS1.
Yeah, I'd say it has been a while in fairness, but yeah, they are the most experienced in this category by a long, long way.
Anyway, Mike Quint, of course, as you say, consistency really is the order of the day. It's no good winning one race and then having some misfortune or making a mistake in the other, because you've really got to be consistently just keep scoring the points, and it all adds up at the end of the championship. And Mike Quint very much aware of that in the way that he's driving. 1.7 to Dragoon behind, who's still got Moynier for close company. So Dragoon mainly on the defensive, but Mike just starting to see these two aren't getting away in front of me. If he's been saving a bit of his tyres, these fine late laps could get very, very interesting indeed. As we see Frelick, who's in the top 9 now, is a 148.8 fastest lap of the race last time around, I think. So that's incredibly quick. He's all over the back of Russo. So And Hoekstra, his times 1:49.6 for him, so it really still feels like, because the Inters burn out, that pace, it's not really worth having them on, is it? You've really got to go for the full wets. But, full marks to HGP for trying something different, though.
Exactly, yeah. And we'll now get Hyperion's first true lap times on fresh compound intermediates. They are getting personal bests at the moment, so that clean air will benefit them until they catch up to Fuentes.
A little bit closer.
Yeah, Quint is getting the temptation is there, but you can't sense any benefit of going side by side there. He's just a little too far back. But if he carries on losing lap time, stuck in Hilla's draft, and Dragoon will benefit from that. Munier will benefit from that. But Hoekstra is now losing out a small bit, unfortunately.
Yeah, the Inter's just, I think they're crying enough at this point after 13 laps, aren't they? But there we go. Zabrinski sets a new fastest lap of the race, down in 17th on his new set of Inters. So he's going to try and get into the top 15. I think that's his aim, past Fuentes and Marino. But Quint has just been... As long as you keep applying the pressure, then the idea is sooner or later Hiller will make a mistake. And although he's gone a bit sideways at some of these corners, Hiller is looked very, very under control so far in this race too. You have to say he's been pretty impressive in what are still pretty treacherous conditions if you get your line wrong or miss a braking point, as we've seen on a couple of occasions, especially in race 1.
Yeah, race 1, a lot of incidents to talk about when the dust finally settles. It's another case of the differentiating driving styles, and the setups are meaning,
they
whatever.
both fishtailed a bit out of the chicane there.
Whatever differences are being made up in particular corners, they're just equalized once they reach the start-finish line. And another burst of DRS, and this is again similar to what we saw previously. It's hopeful, and then just the corner will give away too much. You've got the turn in, and then you're braking. Whoa, no!
Mistake!
That's an error in the Mercedes Arena section, and DRS not needed. It is Mike Quint forcing the pressure to build up until it finally explodes on Hilla. Just one small slip up, and that's all Quint needed. We'll check this out on the replay. And yeah, here we go. We're making a statement here on how they're equal, but now into turn 2, we're gonna watch Hilla miss his apex, and he slips. A little bit of a side-by-side nudge, but that is the race lead for Quint.
And you can tell Quint had been waiting 14 laps for that to happen as well, because the minute he saw him just start to drift slightly wide, Hiller in front of him, he went right all the way to the left. And there was just enough space with a little bit of wheel bang for the two to make it through. But there we go, Mike Quint now exactly where he wants to be, to take full advantage to get himself well and truly into the lead of this championship, especially with Simon Frelick down in 9th at the moment, and after finishing 13th in race 1, already losing a bit of ground. And now Russo has got Frelick for company, with Luke Mitchell just in front of him. Luke Mitchell having an even better race than he was in race 1 at the moment, currently in the top 7. Of course, he qualified top 4, didn't he, in race 1? So Luke Mitchell definitely delivering on the pace that saw him such a dominant force in FS2 this season. Where I think he's won several race 1s in a row. Well, apart from last time out at Saudi Arabia, of course, where and at the Nürburgring, where he did win race 1, but not race 2, of course, where he finished 2nd. And Moynier drifting it around the outside of Dragoon at turn 1, and Loic Moynier somehow snakes his way through onto the podium there, and Jan Dragoon was sort of amazed by that almost, and just had no answer.
It was definitely a glorious move to look at. I'm sure Munier would feel.
Putting plenty of heat into the tires there.
Yeah, I've probably eaten a lot into my rubber exactly yet, and he would have felt, I've got to do it now. And the car thankfully agreed with my inputs. So there we go, a double swap in consecutive laps. Now for just outside the point, it is Marino, who's now been deposed by Zubinski, who is getting reasonable lap times in. But he knows he was battling for the top 10, and he's got to carry that form on for the remaining 6 laps, or else he will have lost out as a result of pitting. Hoekstra, though, he's still 5th place on his intermediates, on board now with Szymon Frelick. This could go down as a real frustrating period in his championship bid. He's been off the podium now for 2 straight events.
Yeah, and I think Hoekstra's been overcome by Thomas Harvey, so the Inters are just starting to die on that HTP car. He's desperately trying to hold on for the last 5 laps, but I think we could see Hoekstra into the pit lane in a matter of moments then, because he's really got no other option, otherwise he might fall even outside the top 15 here.
Yeah, he's in 150 territory, whereas Thomas Harvey is actually gaining, and Frelick bad exit out of the final hairpin, and that means his build-up on Russo's wake has been lost for the time being. But a little bit of deficit should be able to be clawed back soon enough, as of course Russo is following Luke Mitchell.
Frelick is just showing how difficult it is, even if you've got a lot of pace, when you're stuck in the pack here, especially in the wet at the Nürburgring. In the dry, maybe it'd be a bit easier to make your way through, but in the wet, where there's limited visibility, even more limited grip, it's so difficult to get the moves done. And I think that's why we're seeing not many people going for the Inter's pitting strategy. Zubinski, the only one really on the verge of making it work. Hoekstra just trying to stay out and hold on for dear life. Second to Luke Mitchell behind him, so he might be okay for a lap or 2, but it's going to get very tasty near the end. And Hiller, he's just trying to hold on as well. 9 tenths now to Quint in front of him. Moynier still looking quite menacing, 1.6 behind. So Hiller is on for a podium, which would be, I think, one of his best results of the season for Build Sim. But of course, it's looking pretty good for Rowan GP then in the team's points against Build Sim Vulpino, because they've got 2 cars in the top 7 at the moment. Could even beat 2 cars in the top 6 if Luke Mitchell keeps catching as he continues to do.
Yeah, Rorschach got 2nd place in Melbourne, whereas Hiller has picked up 3rd places across the campaign, particularly that race 2 form. We saw the Imola first of all, and then he repeated it in Australia. And Bahrain's probably his best overall circuit, with double top 5s there. So yeah, Hiller is back and raring to go, and this will be his best result of the season. He's now probably losing too much time to the race leader, and he has to worry about Mounier. But Frelick has caught straight back up to Russo.
Oh, that was a closing gap if I've ever seen one. But this is all these guys being held up by Hoekstra then, because Luke Mitchell's right at the head of this train of cars looking to challenge, and that's allowed Frelick to catch right back up and challenge for 8th place then.
Yeah, it's probably too little too late for Hoekstra to pit and recover time. He's 2 seconds a lap slower than race leader Quint. That's all the evidence I'm sure his team needs to say any massive points are gone. You just have to hold on for dear life.
And the other thing is also, you look at the progress of Zubinski. He would come out behind him now if he pit, and Zubinski is about 1.1 behind Watson, and despite being a second and a half quicker than him last time around, he's just giving himself too much ground to make up, and not enough of a delta to really make it worthwhile. As Frelick, this is where he got it wrong in race 1, and he just had a turn in from the outside on the curb there. I thought I had a bit of deja vu, but Frelick had it pretty much under control there, despite the challenging conditions. And there could be another few places in it here, as Russo looking a little bit vulnerable out of turn 11.
Yeah, that's probably one area that has to be emphasized to make sure everything's okay. So Luke Mitchell has the first dibs on an attack against Hoekstra. That's Frelick.
I did say that was Russo.
Oh, it's Russo. Sorry, it looked like
Russo
a white card.
Vulnerable, and then he completely spun it out of the chicane there, off track. But I think he's got going again behind Lucchini. But here comes Luke Mitchell then. and he should have a decent run up the inside here. Locks the brakes into turn 1, but just about manages to unlock them and get it turned in. And Hoekstra with the dying inters had nothing to respond with whatsoever there. And that's another Brown GP car in the top 6 then. And now Hoekstra has got to keep Simon Frelick behind. And we know how quick he is, so I think Hoekstra is fighting a losing battle here, sadly.
Yeah, this is Hoekstra with Russo. I have to correct myself there. Russo lost a lot of time, so maybe it's not the end of the world if Hoekstra cannot defend against Frelick. He can then turn it down a small bit and stay safe.
6.7 seconds to Lucchini, of course.
So yeah, if the information is being relayed to the driver, Wapke will know it's just one more position in danger, and then he has a golden opportunity to just hang on in there and get 8th place. So Frelick, it might even be as soon as the chicane, he might be tempted to go for the swing, and hopefully it is a hit. If TOP fans are listening, they'll want to know how their championship bid is faring, and with Frelick trying to get 7th place, this would be just a bit of a consolation prize for him today.
Exactly. He is not going to be able to close on Mike Quint, who's looking to take his first win of the season here, but Frelick could at least get back in front of Jack Mayer, his teammate, of course, winning race 1, back into 2nd place in the points. But here we go. It's diving out to the last second then into turn 1, and plenty of room there left by, perhaps not intentionally, by Hoekstra. I think Wolpe just didn't have the grip, really, to do anything about that whatsoever. And now Frelick sets out after FS2 points leader Luke Mitchell in his bid to get back into the top 2 in the points.
Yeah, if any further gains can happen in these remaining 2 laps, then yeah, Frelick will gobble them up, no problem at all.
It definitely helped him out by just spinning off in front of him, so he'll be hoping there's more people do that, I guess. But here's Quint then. Only a lap and a half really separates him from that first victory, and the first one in a while for Multiforce GP. Team that's a bit of a stalwart in the championship, always been there, always done pretty well. And go on.
Yeah, Menno Plant, the teammate in Multiforce, he's 11th, so it's a 1-1-1 for them.
Of course, triple ones then.
Triple 1 for the 11 and 14 numbered cars. So yeah, the final chicane, there was a temptation to get a slide on, but it's too soon for any jumping and hullering, because it is the final lap now. 1 to go, and Echele has only got he's only got a miracle really to keep him in command of a win. So Quint has the initiative. Frelick he's gaining on Mitchell, but it might just be too late. It could be a case of a dash to the line here to get him up to 6th.
Yeah, Moynier's also been pushing quite hard to catch Hiller as well for that 2nd position. He's got gapped just under a second, but I feel maybe it's just a little bit too late, but still a great drive from Loic Moynier. His reward is going to be a nice podium there in that TCS off racing car, which is going to be, all in all, a pretty good day's work for him, getting going to be 5th and 3rd, isn't it? I think, for Moynier.
Yeah, Moynier was he was able to get 5th place off Hill in the end.
And certainly making one of the overtakes of the day on a Dragoon, who we know is so difficult to pass as well. So I guess that's why he had to try drift around the outside into turn 1. But anyway, Mike Quint then on the road to victory, and this is one that's going to put him very much at the top of the standings.
Yeah, so that's the first time all campaign that Frelick has not been the championship leader, as he was so strong back at Imola, and he worked his way up with the hat-trick of wins. But now, as we reach the summer break, the the order will change dramatically here as Quint has one corner to go. He tries he might, not able to get his first victory of the season. Instead, it is Mike Quint, the new championship leader, across the line, victorious here in FS1 Race 2, and he will have a very, very happy remainder of May as the number one in the standings. Freilich, though, it won't be enough. Mitchell has held him off there, Ed.
Yeah, Freilich doing well not to be in the wall there at the final corner, but I think Quinn will be very, very happy with that victory. As you see Clont just under attack then from Russo, recovering from his spin, but Russo just a little bit too late there, and Clont will hold on to 11th. But I think Quint will feel that he maybe could have been in the fight for victory had he not been just tagged by an airborne Simon Freilich in race 1. So I think that's more than a satisfactory recovery from his eye. We'll hear what he says after the race, I guess.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing from him, but they can now get the cars safely back to the pits and get the debriefs and any other thoughts on their race, whether it be a joyful occasion or a sorrowful one. So we'll see remaining drivers getting classified. So yeah, that should be everybody who was on the lead lap classified yet. So just a case of following our victorious driver, and there we go. We should have the change in the graphics, and there we go. After 20 laps in this 20-lap sprint race, it is Mike Quint who gets to celebrate championship lead. Gila did his best, but it's only P2. Loic Meunier completes the podium. Jan Dragoon, fabulous performance from him in 4th. Thomas Harvey, solid points in 5th. Mitchell will be pleased with his substitute cameo in 6th. Freilich, disappointment, I'm sure, in 7th. Hoekstra tried his best on inters, but he faded in the end in 8th. And Lucchini and Gut solidly in the top 10. Menno Clont, P11 from Alta Force there, so I'm sure he'll be celebrating long into the evening. Russo, 12th. Koenig, Zabinski, who was an intermediate driver as well there, Zabinski 14th, and Watson completing the points. Marino, Guzovsky, Fuentes, Roshak, the remaining finisher. Carlos Martin, Jack Mayer, and Maxime Beaulieu, who I'm sure will have a lot to say with his formation lap clash. None of his business, really. He didn't even get to take part.
Well, none of his business. It kind of happened to him,
yeah,
from Thomas Harvey. So we'll see how Harvey's top 6 holds on to then in the stewards room, but hopefully he does get to keep it despite that.
And we will return in 4 weeks' time as we take the first break of the campaign for the Spanish Grand Prix in Catalonia. Hopefully going to know sooner or later if the final chicane has been scrapped, because in real life F1 and endurance racing, they have got rid of it. So hopefully GPVWC has a decision made of whether they're going to follow that lead or not. But yeah, Ed, do you have any final thoughts before the interviews?
Not really. Just I think the first race was very, very action-packed. Second race, everyone was very, very patient, and a couple of very, very good overtakes from Mounier and Mike Quint. But anyway, who should we interview first then? Shall we go for race 1 winner Jack Mayer?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Lost.
So Jack, welcome along to the interview room. So mixed feelings. Shall we start with the good news? Race 1, what did you think?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, congratulations to Mike on his, I think he said it was his first win in FS1, but definitely first win of the year. And also congrats to Shimon for a good fight back in both races after his incident. But yeah, I mean, race 1, I'm happy with. Really not a great qualifying. I couldn't get the car working in the wet. So to turn around in the race with the strategy, that was really a very last minute decision. The 4 of us, myself, Shimon, and the 2 Sparks, were in the voice channel deciding what to do. We saw the forecast was really up and down on the rain, and originally we were just going to do the same as everyone else, inters, as if you're just a one-stop on inters. And then I decided to try out the wets and saw that they worked really nice on the full fuel. she just told the others, why don't we just do the race on wets? And the tyre wear was fine. We just controlled it from the second half, and I think everyone agreed it was probably the best decision.
Yeah, certainly a brave call. I was saying in commentary, it's going to be wets all the way through the grid, but then the graphic showed a lot of drivers on intermediates. So, yeah, it was a dramatic race up and down the order. And then, unfortunately, you described your game freeze in race 2, and that cost you a lot of points. So, yeah, anything you could possibly do about it?
Well, like I say, this is the third retirement of the season. It's the third time it's been related purely to a game issue or a hardware issue. I had the same at Imola race 2 and Australia race 2 with those DNFs. That was more related to a screen freeze where my wheel also froze and threw me off the track. This time was just the game freezing and I couldn't see what was going on. So I had to just pull over and retire. It's cost me a lot of points. Obviously, I spent the last, I think, 4 races at least before today scoring podiums to fight back against Shimon and Mike. But yes, very demoralising when you make the points back up and then the game throws you back down. So, but I mean, we've done it once, so I don't see any reason why we can't do it again.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah, Ed,
unlucky today, Jack. But I want to ask, just at the end of, actually middle onwards from race 1, you had Thomas Harvey all over the back of you, and then you did really well to build the gap to him. Did I think Thomas Harvey was going to try anything, or did you always know that because he was on the same strategy, he wasn't going to gain more grip than you out of nowhere?
I know Tom really well. I'm a good mate of his, and he's a really clean driver. He's really sensible as well. He wants to win just as much as we do, but he won't put both of our races on the line. In these conditions, you got to drive safe. Around the midway point, when we did take the lead, for me, the car started to get a bit twitchy. It was just a phase it was going through, just where the tyre life, the tyre temperatures, and the track conditions all aligned where, for me, the rig got twitchy and he was more comfortable. That's why he got really close to me. And then I think around lap 22, lap 23, he had a little rear end slide. And from that moment onwards, he started going through the phase that I went through a few laps before. So he decided to just back off and get to the end, settling for P2. It was just a race where you had to finish. It could easily go wrong, as Shimon showed, as many people showed. You could easily put a foot wrong, and you just had to get to the end, and that's what we've done. And we're both in agreement with that, basically.
All right, Jack. So see you next month in Spain. Best of luck, and fingers crossed you sort your hardware issues out.
Thank you. Enjoy the break, guys.
You too. So long.
All right, shall we get Mike Quint, winner of race 2, in then, and
Yes,
our new
please.
championship leader?
Yeah. Welcome, Mike, to the interview room. Congratulations on your win. How are you feeling?
Hey, yes, thank you very much. I'm feeling so unbelievably happy. I still can't believe it. It's actually my first win in F1, so that's that's amazing.
Well, congratulations, Mike.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I suppose we can think about race 1 first. I suppose, is there any thoughts on that because of how difficult the conditions were? Knowing
and the
that
crash with Simon as well.
Shimon, of course, yeah.
Yeah, so going into the race, like we were unsure whether to go on full wets or whether to go on inters. Like we knew
Correct.
it was possible to do a 0 stop, but we thought if it rains if it stops raining, then then you're essentially screwed. Yeah, so we just took a gamble on the inters. It wasn't the perfect choice, but in the end, we made it work. Yeah, the collision with Shimon was didn't really see what happened because it was in my dead spot. I just saw he went off and suddenly I did a 360. I thought he just rejoined. I didn't really 100% see, but I just heard that he was ramped up by the curb. So I guess it was
Yeah, he was sent.
I'll have to watch you back.
Yeah, he was sent airborne. He was getting through the gravel trap, and then when he hit the runoff area, his rear tires went airborne, hit the ground, and turned left where you were.
Oh, yeah.
You were. So that was unlucky.
Yeah, you couldn't have gone more to the left, I don't think, in
Yeah.
the replays.
Yeah. Oh well, it worked out in the end.
Yeah.
And then in race 2, Hilla had that reverse grid Paul, but what were you thinking? Did you think he was going to make a mistake and you were able to capitalize, or did you have to stay patient?
Yeah, it was very difficult to get too close, because if you get too close to a car, it gets very unstable, especially in the wet. So I was just trying to get the best run out of the last turn, but it was so close, but it was just about, I just couldn't get past. And there was one moment where I was around the outside, I thought I had it, but I was on the wet stuff and I just lost it back. And it was, I think, lap 12 or 13, where I thought that, at this rate I'm not going to get past, and he made a slight mistake, and I just squeezed through. So that was definitely, and from that point on, it was still not easy, but I just managed the gap and brought it home, I guess.
Very good, Ed. Any further questions?
Yeah, it was just some good opportunism then, Mike. And in the end of race 1, you had a good battle with Jan Dragoon, who was really defensive. You saw he was getting to the inside quite early and then getting on the power early. So did you ever get frustrated behind him, or did you think, right, if I finish P5, I can still bank some good points out of this?
Yeah, it wasn't frustration, but it was more or less just hoping that we wouldn't collide, or hoping that I wouldn't have to go for a move. I was just thinking like, okay, P5, it's a good position for race 2, so I was just trying to relax as good as possible and not lose my cool.
Well, you certainly achieved that. So congrats on the win, congrats on the championship lead, Mike, and best of luck for the next half of the season.
Yes, thank you very much.
Cheerio.
All right, Owen, shall we drag Simon Frelick in and hear what he has to say about today's eventful race?
Yeah, let's have Shimon. Welcome, Shimon. It's myself, Owen, and Ed here. So I'm sure your feeling for today is a bit of regret and disappointment. So would that be the case?
Well, certainly. I didn't even expect to be dragged here for an interview. I was just there to chat. But to be honest, I shouldn't probably be in the channel that people wait for an interview. But yeah, just...
I'll give you a warning next time, Shimon.
It's just... I cooled down a little, but I was frustrated after race 1, because that was probably the easiest win I have bottled ever. As you could see, well, we were banking because the wets were a lot better in the race. We could do the whole race easily without them dropping off really, and passing was difficult, so we went for it, and it worked. You could see Jack won from 9th, and I was keeping up with Frank and Mike on their first stint, but yeah, because Hamming was dropping he was very slow because of his thermal degradation. I was very close to him in the Schumacher S's, and it's just, with this car, if you're that close to a car head, it's very easy to lose it. I lifted off before the corner, I still lost it, and then I tried to rejoin the track behind Mike, and I didn't know there's a ramp where the access road is, so that's noted for the next time. But yeah, it was just disappointing. And yeah, in race 2 was just trying to get back. It was difficult to pass, but somehow finished, I think, P7.
Yeah, P7 just behind Luke Mitchell, and he nearly binned it in the wall at the final corner of the race as well.
Oh,
so certainly we're pushing.
I was pushing a lot. I thought there might be a chance, but out of the final corner, I was just, the tires were pretty dead after I was pushing to pass a lot of people.
Yeah, I suppose one thing that did go your way in race 2 was Russo having a spin. Were you able to anticipate it and get out of the way?
Well, he kind of got out of the way himself.
Okay.
I didn't really have to do anything, but yeah, that certainly enabled me to at least have a chance at getting at the front of the train. At least I passed Wobke as well, but yeah, following Luke and Federico was pretty frustrating, because just can't pass even with the DRS, which was weirdly enabled. Didn't get why.
That's a
But
question for Chris Williamson, I'm afraid.
yeah, it was a little sketchy with the DRS, but yeah, I couldn't.
Just trying to help you out, Shimon.
Yeah, well, now it's just head down and trying to get back the points I've lost.
Yeah, on a frustrating day, Shimon, you still finish P13 and P7, so those points could make all the difference in the end. You never know. So thanks for persevering today, and you certainly, if nothing else, put in the most dramatic air we've seen this season. So better luck next time, and I'm sure you'll be back to your best. It has indeed been the whole season in the second half of the year.
Thank you.
Right, I think we've probably just about got enough time for Loic Monnier, third, and fifth. Yeah, he was fifth actually. I think I said incorrectly. Mike Quint was fifth in race one. I think he was fourth actually.
Oh, okay, right.
But he didn't correct me. So anyway,
let's have Loic. Hi, Loic. So how did you feel your day went? Looked like you were flying at periods, and then looked like other times not so much.
Yeah, well, first race I had a setup change that I was making late in the day, but it didn't load, so I was still on a little sketchy for traction. I bought all qualifying. I think I should have done much better, but it's not the best conditions. Sometimes I could get the laps together, and sometimes I would just be scared for my life and just tiptoeing my way through the track because I did not practice the rain or very little. So yeah, just tiptoeing.
You were a quick learner, I'll give you that. Like you made two really, really good moves. One on Messi Chile at the end of race one, and another around the outside of Jan Dragoon. And both of them, as we've seen in both races, very good defensive drivers. So talk us through those moves because they were both pretty dramatic.
Yeah, well, the first one, I think it was a bit too much on the edge for my side. I should have gave space, but yeah, as you say, very good defensive driver. They absolutely know when to step over and get the line back, cut you off, or when to leave just enough space. It's very much observation. You spend a few laps behind, you see where you're gaining a lap on the delta, where you're gaining time, where you're losing time. Some areas where you're driving differently that can also give you a different setup, a possibility to set up your pass. So for highlight, so it was the chicane that I could have had a move on because I would exit better from the Schumacher S. Jan was defending the inside very hard into one, so I knew if I could get a racing line with DRS, I could have a shot at the outside or switch back. And well, the one part is observing and the other part is actually being close enough and making the move, and that's definitely the hardest.
Yeah, we cut to it on the stream and you were just drifting around the outside of Dragoon into turn one. So it was we got very, very excited because it sort of cut to that. We didn't expect to see that, but you, as always, like we should never underestimate you. So congrats.
Maybe reminded you some Autopolis race.
Oh yes, in the ERC British Touring Car Championship, of course. But in open wheel in touring cars, you certainly got what it takes in the wet, like that's for sure.
Thank you.
No worries. And just one quick question. Your teammate for today was Andre, who subbed in for Alex Lahou. Do you have any thoughts on how he did, even though it was a very disappointing day in the end?
Well, he showed up. You at least got to give him that because it's not always given to everyone to have, I would say, good or great drivers. Also from last year, we saw what Andre could do throughout the season. He's definitely not a nobody. To have people available on the spot for you, that's a very good thing. Now on the track, as I said, we practiced the rain very little here, so I would give him the benefit of the doubt, not being able to pull off what we could have done together. But yeah, it's and I would say it's Alex's fault.
Far from the only one to make mistakes today, though, in what was a very treacherous race one, though. So thank you very much, Luke. Do we have time, Eoin, to talk to Vincent Gutt from Spark Racing, or shall we close the broadcast?
I suppose we fit him in. He's been waiting long enough.
Yeah, let's be kind and let him in. But thanks very much for talking to us, Luke.
Thank you to you guys.
And welcome, Vincent. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi.
So how do you feel your races went? Very, very difficult, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Yeah, it was hard. But especially race 1 was very good because of the strategy. I bottled my qualifying laps, and so I had to start from, I don't know, P20? So I gained quite a lot of positions because of the strategy, but race 2 was a bit, worse. I lost some positions. The pace wasn't there.
Yeah, well, I suppose a lot of people feel their qualifying sessions didn't go to plan, but yeah, you feel your team results with Thomas Harvey, do you feel satisfied? You got as many points as you could?
Yeah, in general, I'm very happy to found Tom just before the season. It was like 1 or 2 weeks before the season. I had to ask him, and he said yes to drive for my team. And I'm very happy that I found him.
Very good. Ed, any thoughts?
Yeah, Vincent, if I can ask another question about Thomas. At the start of race 2, there was an incident with Maxime Boulieu where he lost his rear wing and Thomas was a little bit late to the grid. And I think the two incidents were interconnected, if I may put it that way. Was there any reaction from Thomas when he got to the grid? It was like, oh, sorry, or it seemed to be chaotic.
It's more a question for Tom, but we briefly speak about it after the race, and I think Josh asked Tom if he noticed it, and Tom was surprised because he didn't hit him on his screen, and maybe you saw it on stream that Maxime he lost his rear wing, and it looked like Tom hit him quite hard, but for Tom it was fine, and he didn't hit him on his screen, and he didn't lose a wing, so it was something like a desync or so.
Yeah, but anyway, very good defensive driving at the end of race 2 by Vincent to keep Menno Clont and Federico Russo recovering from his spin behind you, because both very, very quick drivers, and gave you a big challenge in that race 2. So to hold them on to the P10, I think that's a pretty decent, even though you said race 2 was a weaker race, maybe not quite as many points, but still, you still got every point that was on offer, I think it's fair to say.
No, thank you.
All right, anything else, Eoin? Or are we done?
No, that's all the interviews conducted. But thanks so much, Vincent.
I would like to say one more thing.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
I also want to thank Josh that he's always there as an engineer. And the TOP group. I never had that much fun in GPV before this year. And especially Jack, because I practiced so much with him.
That's very nice. Well, I think that's a running gag. I think someone has that going. I think it was Alex actually had a happy birthday gag for
Tom Stevens.
Yeah, I hope that's not another little trick I missed out on. But yeah, that's very kind of you to say.
Yeah, but yeah, they're great.
Lovely stuff. So yeah, Ed, really appreciate you stepping in. Absolutely no notice, like you volunteered.
No worries, Eoin.
It's already started, so yeah, thanks so much. And Tom Stevens has manned the cameras for us today, so for that I'm really, really appreciative. And of course, you, the viewers, for sticking with us through a dramatic second instance of rain at the Nürburg Ring. But for now, for myself, Eoin Harmon, and Ed Hunter, it's goodbye and see you next month.